Good morning. It is, what is it? It's Friday, February 10th, and we are on, day 15 of this trial, the Alec Murdaugh murder double homicide trial. Sometimes it's a homicide trial. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a prior bad acts trial, and we're going to be doing more of that when we resume court today. Yesterday got spicy right at the end. We still have witness Mark Tinsley on the stand. He is an attorney for the Beach family. Mallory Beach is a young woman that was killed in the boat crash incident. He was talking about how upset the family was during his testimony yesterday when they showed up to the scene where the boat crash was, and the Beach family wanted to go down to the water's edge and weren't allowed. They were kept back by crime scene tape. But when the Murdaugh family shows up, they were immediately escorted under the crime scene tape so they could go and be in the crime scene. The Beach family felt disrespected and angry, and of course they did. Mark Tinsley talked about the fact that he was going after Alec personally for a recovery in that case. We heard a lot about insurance yesterday. Part of what they haven't brought out well, have they brought anything out well? Let's be honest. Part of what they have not brought out well is that the insurance that would have gone, the umbrella policy that would have normally covered something like the boat crash when Alec Murdaugh lent his boat to Paul Murdaugh, that's the theory they're going on, and Paul was driving the boat. That is their theory of civil recovery in that case. He no longer had an umbrella insurance policy because that insurance policy had paid out in the Satterfield case when she had fallen at Moselle. So that $5 million umbrella policy paid out when Gloria Satterfield died, and there was no umbrella policy when the boat crash happened. So Alec Murdaugh was very underinsured from Mark Tinsley's point of view when he gave his son his boat and the boat crashed. So Alec was sued, Maggie was sued, Buster was sued, the location that sold liquor to the underage teens was sued, and others. So we are still in the middle of talking about the pressure with the boat case. We also heard yesterday from Palmetto State Bank, but right now we're going to hear from the judge. He's going to say, bring the jury at some point. He's got a smile on his face today. He's like, what fuckery have you brought? That's what Judge Newman's face says. We're going to probably hear more this morning.
Good morning.
About the GoFundMe, I think. I didn't even get
Tinsley.
Oh, no, back on the stand. So during a break in court yesterday, the court started hearing about whether or not the GoFundMe is a problem. That'll come up on cross-examination. Mark Tinsley told reporters yesterday
Bring the jury.
that he hopes that he is asked about it. So the court has said, bring the jury. Y'all do the YouTube things. We need to get right into it. Today's show is sponsored by the fact that I'm going to a concert tonight and dry shampoo. That's where we're at today. Let's go. Mark Tinsley's back on the stand in a gray suit, and it's time to bring the jury.
Hey there, I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not... Let's get into it.
Jury is still not in the room. Let me know what you're drinking and where you're coming in from. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona. Apparently there's like sports ball in addition to a Dave Matthews concert. Weird. I know Mark Tinsley is still not wearing an orange tie. So strange. So strange. Still not wearing an orange tie. So yesterday we were getting to the pressure, and we had heard, we're waiting for the jury to come in. We had heard from the representative from Palmetto State Bank to talk about the state of Alec Murdaugh's finances and the fact that on June 10th, it is the prosecution's perspective.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Day number 15, state's case. The last objection was sustained, and ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, when I sustain an objection, that means you're to disregard the question and any response. You may proceed.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. May it please the court.
May it please us at this point, Creighton.
Morning.
Just to kind of reset the table from where we left off.
Oh gosh, that means you're going to repeat yourself.
You had testified about pursuing the case against the defendant over the boat wreck, correct?
Correct.
And you had communicated to the defense that the defendant was going to have to pay personally, correct?
Correct.
Not just the insurance,
Correct.
correct? And you had been told that the defendant was broke, correct?
That's correct.
And you had filed a motion to compel. Had you filed a motion to compel, states 402, seeking to identify any bank accounts that he had?
In October of 2020.
And we heard from Palmetto State Bank the state of those accounts. So it's the prosecution's theory that the state of those accounts would have become known on June 10th. So happy 30th birthday, Elizabeth.
All right. I think one of the things that you had also testified to is that just generally COVID had kind of slowed things down in the court system.
Ultimately, yes.
And then you had had some health issues that you were dealing with as well. Is that correct?
At some point, yes.
At some point in time, did a hearing in the boat case that would include a hearing on this motion to compel that's on the screen get scheduled?
It did.
And when did it initially get scheduled?
My recollection is it was set for May the 30th, 2021.
All right, and let me show you an example.
Aaron said, oh my God, this trial feels like it's been going on forever. We're on day 793. It feels like we've all aged exponentially during this trial.
Mark to states 404 and see if you recognize this document.
And we're all tired. I've been talking
I do.
to my prosecutor
All
and
right,
judge
and,
friends
what is
about this
that?
case.
That is a communication about the hearing. It's actually about a status conference about the hearing that's going to be on May the 30th.
Okay. All right, and what was the date of that status conference going to be?
May the 7th, 2021.
All right, and then look at the subject line on that and just take a look at that real quick.
Motions hearing May the 11th?
Yeah. Was that the date or was it May 30th for the motions hearing? To your recollection.
To my recollection, it's May the 30th.
All right. But this email is related to that particular hearing, is that correct?
It's related to the hearing on my motion to compel.
They
and
might have
some
had a
other
hearing that
hearings.
got
At this
bumped.
point, Your Honor, I move to admit states 404, I believe, without additional objection.
These emails, no business foundation's been laid. Everybody just seems cool with it.
And is
I
that
mean,
particular
so whatever.
email we were just discussing?
It is.
but if any of you tried this in like a trial advocacy class, it would never work. Pam said, on a flight to
And
Phoenix,
you're
see you at
correct, the
DMV.
hearing
See you at
Was
Dave.
May the 11th.
May the 11th?
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't seen that, refreshes your recollection?
Yes.
Nobody cares about the rules of evidence anymore. We've slipped into an alternate universe and things are just fine.
Show you how it's been marked
It's
as
fine.
states 405. And have a take a look at that and see if you recognize this.
Aaron, I have done the Gorge a number of times. Today is my 55th concert. For those of you new to my channel, yeah, I am basic
I do.
AF.
All right, and tell me what this is, please.
It's an email from Judge Hall, who had been assigned the case about the hearing. John Tiller.
We'll talk
who
about the
was,
GoFundMe at the break.
Alex lawyer in the boat crash case, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer about the same time.
Pancreatic cancer is
just
so
before
fucking
I found
brutal.
out I had cancer. And so he had a chemotherapy treatment that was going to run long the day of the hearing. He didn't always know when his treatments would be, but about a week before he would know. And so the hearing needed to be rescheduled to accommodate John's treatment.
All right, and just initially, when that request was made, what was the judge in that case's response?
The hearing would go forward as scheduled, and one of Alex's other lawyers could attend.
All right, so initially the judge denied that continuous request, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what happened after that that ultimately resulted in it being continued?
I sent an email. John Tiller was my friend, and I didn't object to
Was,
continuing
hurts my
it.
heart.
And then the judge had a status conference, and at that point, we continued the hearing until June the 10th.
Had, in the course of this litigation, given that we were coming out of COVID, had the judge in that particular case been relatively aggressive in wanting to move this case forward, to your assessment?
The judge knew that I was in Florida receiving treatment and was accommodating that. So No, he wasn't being aggressive at that time. It was when I was ready, and so I was back and we were ready.
And that's what led to this initial hearing, is that correct?
Correct.
But ultimately, you agreed to let this thing be continued, correct?
I did.
All right. Your Honor, this time I'd offer to take 4 or 5 into evidence. No additional objection.
It's
Submit
not
it.
uncommon for judges to accommodate health
And down at the bottom of
issues,
this email chain, what's the date on
health
that?
needs to a point, and then to be like, we got to keep moving,
You read
find
that
another
on your screen,
attorney.
or need to bring it
There
back
is a
to you?
limit to it.
May 5th.
Which can be a little heartbreaking.
2021.
And that's communication from whom?
That's from John Tiller to Judge Hall.
All right.
And that's relaying the need for the postponement for the chemotherapy treatment.
All right. And then there were the communications from you related to that, is that correct? Well, let me go right here. This is the response right there, is that correct, from Judge Hall?
That's the initial response, that he intended to go forward with the hearing.
They don't need the
as
emails. They
scheduled,
really,
and
really don't. They
that
could just use the
Mr.
docket.
Condon
The
from
docket's a
same
court
firm could handle it.
document. They didn't need, it got continued, it got continued, it got continued. The hearing was on June 10th. That's it. That's it. That's it. They could put in the docket and show that the hearing was that day. There is nothing that happened because of Alec that bumped the schedule. Unless the prosecution really just wants to put in that these attorneys were struggling with health issues, which I understand, it's heartbreaking, but also at some point we have to get back to if there's evidence of Alec committing a homicide.
See if you recognize this particular document.
Just admit, take judicial
do.
notice
All right.
of the
And what is
docket.
this? Tell the jury what this is, please.
That's an email from John Tiller, so after the email.
well, we've moved into the
on
fucking weeds
screen
at this
saying,
point.
I intend to go forward, John Tiller sent another email explaining a little more detail what was going on, and that he had, I believe it says he had spoken to me and I had agreed. They were my motions. There were some other motions, but when it's your motion, you can agree to continue it if a party.
And the judge normally
wants it
agrees.
continued and you don't object, and so that's what that's doing, trying to get the judge to not go forward with the May the 11th date.
All right. Your
For
Honor,
those of you in the
this
chat
time
asking,
States 406.
Whose
Yeah.
cousin is Cousin Eddie? Great point.
Submit it.
All right,
Cousin
and the
Eddie's
date on that
Alec's
particular email
cousin.
is?
May the 6th, 2021.
Oh yeah, I should send all these attorneys some Manscaped after this so they can
Judge
weed whack
ultimately
their way out of this.
based on this series of emails granted the continuance on this motions hearing, correct?
Well, he gave us a status conference in which we did by video, and ultimately he agreed.
Okay. And what day was the motions hearing that included the motion to compel rescheduled for?
June 10th, 2021.
The way to start this morning is not to
Going
put
back
the
to
jury to
States
sleep by going
402.
through emails. That is not the
One of
way.
the matters that was on the table to be heard would have been
This could all be
your
done,
attempt to get
With a docket.
compelled responses to this interrogatory from the defendant, correct?
this part
That's correct.
matters.
Seeking identification of his bank accounts.
That's correct.
The interrogatory is a question that you swear an answer to. So if you're asking for bank accounts, they have to identify what bank they're at, the bank number, et cetera.
2021 would have been?
I believe it's a Thursday.
How'd you hear about the murder of Maggie and Paul?
I got a phone call sometime in the middle of the night, 11:30, after my recollection.
And that was on June 7th, 2021,
That's right.
into June 8th, 2021?
I think I heard it's still June 7th when I hear about it, but yes.
Okay.
June 8th, 2021, did you have any conversations with any of the lawyers involved in the boat case, or any communications?
I believe so. I think that it was more of, there wasn't a whole lot of consideration to be given to the fact that the hearing wasn't going to go forward. It was
They just
sort of shock and
continued it.
horror of
Right.
what had happened, and nobody really knew what to do in the moment.
Of course, that hearing's not going forward after this,
It
correct?
did not.
Creighton needs to let the witness make the point. Of course, the hearing's not going forward. Of course, it's getting put over.
We'll show you what's been marked as States 407 and see if you recognize that particular document.
I do. This is an email from Judge Hall's law clerk. Judge Hall's over the boat crash case to me and the lawyer for Parker's, as well as about the fact that the hearing's not going forward.
All right, this time I'd offer States 407.
Okay, we know the hearing's not going forward. Oh, I know, I was muted. The problem with Creighton is he's presented so much crap, you can't tell what's important.
What's the date of that
Creighton,
email?
I don't think, can tell what's important right
June
now.
8th, 2021,
What time?
4:24 p.m.
Creighton's trying to make everything important, which is
I think there's an
making
email
nothing
from John
important.
Tiller that precedes this one that morning, but
But ultimately, there were communications the following day that obviously we're not going forward with this hearing on the motion to compel.
Obviously.
yeah, pretty much immediately.
correct? And at that period of time, was there any date set in the wake of all of this for it to be reheard?
There was not.
In the wake of the murders, did you generally understand or have an idea of at least what had happened to Maggie and Paul, how they had been killed?
I did.
Just from media reports and the rest of it?
That's right.
And
Let him explain, Creighton.
did that
Let
have
him
any
explain. He wants to
effects,
talk,
that
let him explain.
tragedy of their deaths, did that have any effects on your assessment of the boat case and how everything fit together, if things were how they initially appeared?
It would have affected, I mean, yes, it did, and it would have ended the case
It would have ended the case against who?
against Alex Murdaugh.
Let him
That to the
explain.
jury. Why? What had
Thank
changed
you.
after this terrible tragedy?
Well, when you have a civil case, nice people get good verdicts, okay, just generally speaking. Yes, sir. Nice people get good verdicts. You really have to motivate a jury to want to help somebody in a civil case. And so if you compared, say, Attila the Hun with some sweet grandmother, who gets a better result? It's the sweet grandmother. If Alec is the victim of a vigilante, nobody's going to hold him accountable. Doesn't make any difference what he did or how clearly what he did contributed. The case would be over against Alec. And so initially, it could have been over. It appeared that it was going to be over against Alec because I had other defendants. I had Parker's convenience store that clearly violated its rules, and so you wouldn't want a very sympathetic person in your case when you have somebody who clearly violated the rules and caused this tragedy.
Right, so you just go after
it would have been
the
over against
location
Alec.
that sold the liquor and you
The
exclude Alec
sympathies of
from
the
it.
case had changed if Alec had truly been, his family had been the victim of some vigilante or something like that.
The sympathies would have changed if that had been true.
And assessing those sympathies and those emotions in a case like this is what you do as a plaintiff's lawyer, is that correct?
It's what we try to do.
Katie, it
And that's
is
what Alec Murdaugh
prejudicial,
used
but
to
it
do
is
as well when he was
probative
a
as well.
plaintiff.
That's
I
why
think
it's
he was good at
evidence.
reading people and knowing what
Alec
made
knew.
them tick.
Thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Nothing further at this time. Please
Alec
answer
knew
any
people
questions
knew what
the
made
commission
them tick,
Thank you.
so he knew.
Mr.
They're
Barber.
getting to, he knew that this kind of tragedy would end the case. Mr. Barber
Good morning, Mr. Tinsley.
has
Morning.
no love for Mr. Tinsley.
Let's
Okay, cross-examination, let's go.
maybe just start asking a couple of questions that I think are just some things that we could agree on before maybe getting to some other things.
That we won't agree on.
Was there any
Clearly.
life insurance for Maggie or Paul?
I don't believe there was any life insurance on anybody, including Alec.
Good question to start with.
And if this motions hearing, which was not just the motion to compel, it was other
very good
motions,
question.
correct? On June the 10th.
Yeah, there were some other motions.
And if that hearing had gone forward, at least for the motion to compel, this would have been another step in a process? Right. In other words, I believe it was your previous testimony, I think it's fair to say that there wouldn't have been an explosion on June the 10th, that this would have been another step.
It's not
but it
come up
wasn't
yet
the
in
end
any other
point.
testimony.
So what happens?
Is that correct, sir? Yes or no? Am I misstating your testimony?
Oh, shit.
There
Well,
wouldn't have
so-
been an explosion on June the
You're
10th?
jumping around, so it's hard for me to follow.
I apologize.
Well, if you let me finish.
This is
I'd
cross-examination.
like to ask the witness to be allowed to finish his answer.
This
If
is
he wanted his
cross-examination,
questions,
Mr.
and I think
Tinsley.
on the question.
Pose one question.
Welcome to the
Yes, Your
game.
Honor. Did you previously testify, I think that it's fair to say there wouldn't have been an explosion on June the 10th?
I'm sorry,
Yes
you
or
were
no?
looking down. I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, I was reading it. I think it's fair to say that there wouldn't have been an explosion on June the 10th. Did you testify, did those words come from that stand when you previously testified, yes or no?
I'm not trying to give you a hard time. You looked down again, and I could not understand what you said.
I
Was there an
I
explosion?
apologize for that. I'll hold it up. I'm just trying to read it accurately. I think it's fair to say that there wouldn't have been an explosion on June the 10th.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes or no, was that your testimony previously? Just yes or no,
It's possible.
please.
You're trying to turn it into something it's not, but I probably said words to that effect.
Okay.
The cross-examination is going to be very
No
fiery.
further questions, Your Honor.
Oh, shit.
Redirect.
You're asked about the motion to compel being another step in the process. Is that correct?
What?
It was a way to put pressure on Alec.
But if, after that hearing happened, and an order granting a motion to compel had been issued, that starts a process that's going to run its course. Is that correct? If a order is, I'm sorry, I'll rephrase that. If a order to compel is granted, tell us about the process that happens after that as it relates to your specific interrogatory we've talked about here today.
Sure. The process starts on Alec's side way before. If you look at those exhibits that they marked the email, you'll see Danny Henderson. Again, Danny Henderson was his personal lawyer. Danny Henderson is also a shareholder in the firm. Danny Henderson is reviewing every single document, that's how meticulous Danny Henderson is. He reviews all of the account information before I get it, and nobody knows better what Alec's making than Danny Henderson. I mean, you'll see all these checks going out and all these payments being made, and Danny Henderson would have known. So the explosion.
Object, Your Honor. Objection.
Basis for the objection.
Foundation.
Response.
It is speculation.
Speaking of,
Speaking of response to the objection.
he has testified as to the fact of his interactions with that individual who actually brought him insurance documents to review. I think he has a basis to know.
Foundation.
Answer
In
it.
response to the
Creighton.
objection.
I believe he has sufficient foundation to address that from his personal knowledge.
Based on what?
Overrule the objection. You may answer.
Thank you, Your
Personal
Honor.
knowledge was what it was based on.
For instance.
The judge is reining
I had
them in today.
subpoenaed the phone records, not only Alec's, his father's, but we also had John Marvin, Alec's brother's phone records. Danny reviewed those records for a long time before I
Well, they
could
should have
get my
done this
hands
on
them.
direct.
Danny was involved in everything. He was at every hearing. He was at every deposition. He was intimately involved in every aspect of the case.
Danny's the lawyer with the buttons that was in the car the night of the murder with Alec.
If an order to compel
It was
is
speculation.
issued, what
I don't
was
know
going
which
to be
attorney
your
was
next
saying that,
step
but
if
yes,
you had
it was.
an identification of accounts by the defendant?
Subpoena those accounts.
Objection outside the scope of cross.
And if those accounts are subpoenaed,
Objection outside the
potentially
scope of
people
cross.
move to quash those?
They could move to quash, but Danny Henderson would have looked at the documents in anticipation that I could get them.
No, that's outside the
I
scope.
sustain the objection.
Oh, all right.
If motions to quash had been filed, though, you could have continued to seek that and there would have been further hearings. Is that correct?
I would have continued.
Objection to sustain, that's the leading.
What would have happened?
The judge is
if
done
motions
on
to quash were
Friday.
Filed as any subpoenas you issued for the specific information about the defendant's accounts?
I would have continued to push. We would have continued to argue about it.
Would have a process been put in motion, though, that was going to conclusion if an order had been issued on June 10th, 2021?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Oh, the attorneys are in the weeds now.
Anything further?
Nope.
No, Your Honor.
Let's step down.
Thank you.
That was unexpected. The
Next
defense,
witness.
I want to.
Please score. Your Honor, this time the state of South Carolina calls Ms. Blanca Simpson.
Blanca's going to testify. Damn, y'all. This morning's coming in hot. There was a cross-examination. We'll talk about the cross-examination in a minute. We've got Blanca taking the stand. Oh my goodness. I have been waiting. Chat, for those of you that are like, what's happening? Blanca was at Moselle that night. Blanca started working for the Murdaughs at some point after Gloria Satterfield died. Oh my God, we've heard nothing from Blanca. We know nothing about what she's going to have to say. There has been nothing but rampant speculation about what Blanca might have to say.
My name is Blanca Turruviat-Simpson, Turrubiate-Simpson.
Turruviat-Simpson.
Good morning.
Damn.
Is this difficult for you to be here today?
Yes, sir, it is.
I love that Blanca brought her reading glasses. She knew they're going to
Will
make
you
her look at
please
shit.
tell
Good
the
for you,
ladies and
Blanca.
gentlemen of this jury, Ms. Simpson, about yourself,
I don't love that
where
this
you're
is
from.
the attorney questioning Blanca, though.
your family if you want to, and just kind of what you've been doing in life leading up to today, generally, please?
Yes, sir. I'm originally from Brownsville, Texas. I joined the military at the age of 17.
Thank you for your service, Blanca.
I was in Norfolk, Virginia for almost 9.5 years. I was stationed on the USS Puget Sound, USS Shenandoah, Naval Air Station Oceana right before I left.
What'd you do there?
Heavy equipment operator.
Okay.
And my husband was also a heavy equipment operator. We were both in the same field. We decided that the military was just not going to be good environment for raising children, so we made a decision. Instead of moving to Texas, we moved to South Carolina, where he was from. And we have 5 children, 34, 31, 23, 21, and a 17-year-old. They're all been raised down here in South Carolina.
Any of them still at home?
Yes, sir, 17-year-old.
Don't judge who's still at home, counsel. It's been weird
Where
since
was your husband
2020.
from? You said he moved back home. Where was he from?
My husband's originally from Gifford, South Carolina.
Say it again.
Gifford, South
Gifford.
Carolina.
Okay. And what does he do?
He's a police officer for Hampton.
When you came to South Carolina, you'd never been here before, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. What did you do when you got here besides the hardest job in the world, being a mom and raising kids? What else did you do?
When we moved here, we had enough leave built that we didn't have to work for almost 2 months. So I went to,
Yep.
after about a week.
I didn't know her
kinda
husband
got
was law
bored 'cause
enforcement
I'm
either.
used to having hands-on, doing something. So I went to the local Piggly Wiggly store in town and I asked.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
I didn't know he was the owner at the time. I realized he was the owner after. If I could get a job because I was bored. And
How many kids do you have?
I have 5.
Okay.
But I only had the 2 oldest ones.
Don't judge.
At that time.
Don't judge that she's
And,
bored and has kids.
So he said
Sometimes
the
you
only
need to get
job
out
he
of the
had
house,
was a
counsel.
stalker. And I actually had no idea what that meant because I had just graduated high school and went in the military, so I didn't know. But I told him I would take it as long as it would get me out of the house for a little bit. So
This all-female jury's like, okay, Blanca.
I took that job, and then within a week, I got a call from another job that I had put in where it was brazing or welding at Scotsman, which is in Allendale County. And I figured, well, it offers benefits, and it would be better transition for the kids, dental, that sort of thing.
Real.
So I went there.
It had dental.
After about
Yep.
2 weeks, another job called me and had better dental medical benefits for my kids. So that
Blanca's
was the
like, so
first
that's what
time
we're
I
doing.
ever, well, I went to work for the South Carolina Department of Corrections.
What?
I opened up Ridgeland Correctional Institution. I was the first class to graduate from Ridgeland Correctional Institution. I worked my way up from correctional officer to sergeant. I managed the outside details and the road crew on the interstate. Also, a crew that would go out to Hunting Island for maintenance to assist with the park rangers. In 2001, I was offered a job at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and I accepted the job. So I left Ridgeland Correctional Institution, went to work for FCI Estill, Federal Correctional Institution, Estill, South Carolina, where I stayed until 2007. My job, basically, I started back from the bottom as a correctional officer, and before my year's up, I got promoted to the Special Investigative Support Tech Office, where I was responsible for managing, producing reports,
Oh, look,
weekly
he's letting her
reports,
finish.
and also
Amazing.
profiling the Hispanic gangs, because there was not a lot of staff members that were bilingual.
Just say it.
So my
We get
job
it.
basically became profiling, interviewing,
We get it, Blanca.
and associating
Yep.
members, the inmate population with gangs.
And how long did you do that?
From 2001 to 2007.
Not that anybody cares, but is that when I first met you?
Yes, sir.
Wait,
Did
how do
you
y'all?
help me arrange a meeting with a prisoner I need to interview?
Yes, sir.
And why did you leave that job?
So they know Blanca from her work in the
When you're the
prisons.
only, one
Wow,
of the
that must
only
have
ones
been
in the office
interesting.
that's bilingual, and you're constantly getting called out for different incidents dealing with a Hispanic population that had grown up quite a bit from the time I got there, and still having to do your daily duties in the office, and nobody's helping you. You tend to burn out pretty quick. So
We hear you,
I made a
lady.
decision to leave.
So if an incident happened when they needed a translator,
I
Your
was
phone
called-
got called.
I had to stop what I was doing and respond to whatever incident dealing with the Hispanic inmates.
She was like all the time. She's
what
like,
did you do after that?
She did 17 jobs
I
at the prison.
went into real estate for a little bit, which was not so good because that's when the market crashed.
And again, for the jury's edification, what year is this when you quit the prison?
2007
And you're living where?
in Brunson.
I'm sorry.
Brunson,
So how long did you stay in real estate?
maybe about a year and a half.
Your family's grown at this point, I presume?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did there come a point that you met the defendant, Alex Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell them how that happened? Tell the ladies and gentlemen how that transpired?
This is the
When
don't
I-
miss
when I
testimony
first
of the
moved
trial.
to Gifford with my husband.
Because we have not seen any of
Like
this.
I said, I was bored, so I went to work at the grocery store. At the grocery store, and during the time that I moved, there was not a lot of Hispanic families living in that area. It has since grown in the years. I met a lady who I befriended, she was Hispanic. And we started talking because she was the only other Hispanic person that I had actually seen in the area. So we started talking back and forth,
Blanca's
and it
like,
was
"Oh my God."
nice to speak in your native tongue with somebody. Her son had an accident at the school on his way after school, walking to the car, and he had gotten hurt. One of the ladies that worked at the school had recommended that she use an attorney from Walterboro. And a couple of months had gone by, and I noticed that she was under a lot of stress. And as I talked to her, she said, "I just have to get all these documents. I don't understand." She spoke English, but it was very broken English. So she was having a difficult time explaining
So of course Blanca
what she
helped her. Of
needed
course
for
you
the
did.
attorney. So I told her, I said, I'm gonna find you an attorney. I'll look around. I said, and we'll go ahead and fire that attorney and hire you a new one.
She said, I got you, girl.
And, because we didn't want the statute of limitations to run out on her case. So at that point, I started looking around, and I happened to walk into the law firm
PMPED.
And it was the old offices where I met Alex.
Just walked in, and that's where you met the defendant, Alex Murdaugh.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you were trying to assist this individual who was having trouble
Counsel, we heard what
communicating
she
with her
said.
prior attorney, don't mention whoever that attorney was, but you helped her get a new attorney.
Yes, sir.
We're riveted by her story, counsel. Just ask one or two
Did you help
questions and
with
let her
that
talk. We don't
case,
care what you have to
that
say.
particular case with this friend?
Yes, sir. He told me he would take the case.
Who is he? Who spoke?
Alex told me he would take the case as long as I translated and helped him with the details. Because he didn't have anybody in the office that was bilingual, and I agreed.
You were a hot commodity, weren't you? I mean, there was a need for translators.
Yes, sir.
So
She's
you
smart.
helped with that case.
Yes, sir. I did.
Did you assist in other cases with
And she
Yes, sir, I
cares.
did. At times, Alec would call me and ask him if I could assist in translating or when there were accidents and the folks were injured. And if they were not, if they did not speak the English language, he would ask me to translate.
and were you getting paid for this service?
Yes, sir. He would, it wasn't a set fee. It was just depending on the case, you know, whatever I did, whether it was to get him signed up with a law firm, basically, you know, or if I had any type of, in the Hispanic community, when you are in trouble or you're in need of something, and a lot of times those accidents, when they happen in the area, they are not
From the
from
area.
here.
That makes
The
sense.
language barrier is a big thing for them. So my instinct was more to make sure that they were well accommodated and whatever they needed. So sometimes he would reimburse me for my out-of-pocket whenever I helped the individuals, you know, who were in the accident.
He should have reimbursed you for more than that, Blanca, because now
And that
she's
went on
bringing
for a
him.
period of time when you were assisting either Alex Murdaugh or the law firm, is that
She was
correct?
bringing
Yes,
them a
sir.
new clientele that they couldn't access
did
because
that
they had no one in the
change into
firm
a-
to serve that community. So she was-
Caregiver, if you will, or respectfully, I don't mean housekeeper or whatever term you'd like to call it, for Maggie Murdaugh.
Yes, sir. Alex had called me and said Maggie was looking for a person to help her in the home. And at that point, real estate wasn't really doing much for me, and so I told, I couldn't find anybody. I had asked around. And at that point, I told him, I said, well, I'll help her. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'll help her. I said, it's no big deal to me. It's honest work. So I said that I would help her.
You were clearly qualified.
Yes, sir.
She's like, I've run prisons.
so what did you start
I've got
doing
your
for-
household.
I
Either the
would-
Murdaughs or Maggie Murdaugh.
I
She was their house
started
manager.
helping the other ladies in the house with the cleaning, with running errands, running to the bank for her,
Probably less stressful than the
whatever she
prisons,
needed
though.
me to do.
And when did that start, Ms. Blanca?
In 2007,
And were the two young children, or the two children, Paul and Buster Murdaugh, were they younger at the, obviously they were younger when you?
yes, sir, they were young.
And would you have interaction with them and/or Alex Murdaugh during this time period?
Yes, sir.
How often were you working for the Murdaughs?
At that point, it was maybe every other day, depending on how often she needed me.
And where was that? Where specifically were you working? Where was their house?
At the house on Holly Street in Hampton.
That's what he was getting at.
How long did that go on before you stopped and tell them why you stopped?
I worked there with them on and off, like I said, not on and off, I shouldn't say that, every 2 to 3 days, you know, or it wasn't a daily thing at that point. Then I did go probably about, maybe,
They should have just hired her as
I
a law
can't recall,
firm.
it was a few months later or
Honestly.
a couple weeks later. There was an incident at the house and somebody had tried to burn the house. So that's when I actually went and started helping her more full-time because she had to go through a lot of A lot of the damages and all that helped her, I helped her document a lot of whatever damages were done from the diesel and stuff that was spilled all throughout the house. by the-
What?
And maybe I wasn't clear in my question. Did there come a point where you had some health issues?
Yes, sir. At one point,
Did someone try to burn the house, or was there a
I
transfer?
suffered a stroke.
I got questions.
And I had to stop working and go through rehab for a while.
And what year was that?
There was diesel in the house?
17 and 18, maybe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So prior to your stroke, and you had to go to rehab, how long did you work for the Murdaughs?
It was a few years by then.
There was diesel.
How long were you out after you had your stroke, Blanca?
Maybe almost 4 years.
Did there come a point where you went back and started working with Alex, with the Murdaugh family?
Yes, sir.
And tell these folks when that was.
Shortly after the boating accident, I reached out to Alex and Maggie, and I told them if they needed anything that they could call on me. And at that point, Maggie said that she would like for me to come back if I was able to.
Very compassionate.
So I told her I would. At that point, I was feeling better, so I told her that I would go back. And once I went back, it was like I actually never left.
I was just informed the stroke was in 2015, not 2017. I
Yes, sir.
apologize.
Yes, sir.
So after your recovery, you started working and actually called them, the Murdaugh family, and said, if y'all need anything.
If y'all need anything, you know, I'm here.
And I don't think anybody will dispute, that was in February of 2019?
Yes, sir.
Time period?
Yes, sir.
Because she
So
heard about
when you
this
went
horrible
back to
thing that
work with
happened
the
and said, can I
family
help you?
after the boating accident,
that's what she
tell
does.
these folks, what were your duties then? What was your job?
I started right back at the same thing. I was helping with the cleaning. I was helping running errands. I would cash checks. I would,
House manager.
and what I say by cashing checks for Maggie, sometimes she didn't have time or she was busy doing other things, so she would send me to the bank to cash checks, to pay the people that she had working around the house. The main,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yes, sir. The maintenance line, you know, that sort of thing, whatever she was doing around the house.
And where were they living, the Murdaugh family, at this point in 2019?
Both places,
Okay, and tell the folks where both places.
Moselle and Hampton.
So you're working at
This is
both
before
residences?
Hampton
Yes, sir,
sells.
both.
And did there come a time where they moved exclusively for the primary residence to, well, where was their primary residence?
That's a better
Their
question.
primary residence was Holly Street, and once they sold the house, they moved straight into Moselle, full-time.
But if they moved to Moselle full-time, why was Maggie living at Edisto? And I wonder
Haven't heard
if
much
Blanca
about Maggie.
knows.
Limited.
I
what can
very
say
much
in
wonder
a
if Blanca knows.
Murder case, but did y'all get fairly
House fire's
close?
odd.
Yes, sir.
And when you had quit working for her and you had your stroke, did you ever see her during that time period when you weren't working for her?
Yes, sir. Maggie would, I would see her in town, and she would often signal me to pull over, so we just used to stop sometimes and just talk and see how things were going at the local CVS,
Just to catch up?
just to catch up and see how everybody was doing.
Literally where I run into people.
Prior, when
that
you
are
were working
Target.
and after, would you, and I'm not asking you to say what, but y'all
Well,
got
Blanca's
close
going to
and
know
would
all
talk
the tea.
personal
Ask her
things?
everything.
Yes, sir.
With personal things. Ask her everything. Because Maggie, if Maggie's living at Edisto, Blanca would know. Which makes Maggie's text all the more offensive, but
I'd
we'll
like for you to
talk
go
about
back
that
in
later.
your mind now and take this jury back to June 7th, 2021.
Yes, sir.
No, can we back up to the fact that Maggie wasn't living full-time at
You were
Moselle?
working there for the Murdaughs then?
And does she know why?
Yes.
That's a Monday. Do we all know that, June 7th?
Yes, sir.
When had you worked prior to that? At
At-
the Moselle property, for them?
Friday.
And at that point, had you seen, what family members did you see at Moselle on Friday, which would have been the June 4th of 2021? Do you remember?
Paul,
And what was your interaction with Paul that day?
Paul walked through the door, his usual self. I was walking out of the laundry room, coming into the kitchen, and
Can you tell us
Paul
about the
came in
laundry? 'Cause it
front
still
door, and he
smelled
was
good.
holding
We've got questions.
a
We need
laundry
help.
basket full of clothes. And as he was approaching me, he saw me and he said, "What's up, Miss B?" And I just looked at him. I said, "Boy," I said, "if you got all them dirty clothes and you want me to take care of that," I said, "I'm getting ready to leave." He's like, "Oh, come on, Miss B, you can help me out." He said, "I need them for the weekend." I said, "Well, just pull a couple of them out, what you need, and I'll take care of it."
Can you give us your tips? Blanca,
I
we
ended
want
up
you
staying
to
late
be
to
all
make
of our
sure that
moms.
he had his clothing ready for the weekend.
Can you adopt the internet, please? We need you as our auntie.
Did you wash the clothes for the entire family? Was that part of your,
Yes, sir, I did.
and did Paul leave that Friday?
Yeah, I saw him leave. I don't know whether he was actually gone for the weekend or
She
if
was
he
there the day of the
still-
murder. She made dinner that
Did you ever
night.
see him again?
No, sir.
Did you have regular hours in June of 2021 that you worked at Moselle for the Murdaugh family?
They weren't really set hours. Maggie was pretty, she was just easygoing. If I had stuff to do, if I had stuff to take care of, she wasn't really too keen on any specific hours. So, you know, if I had a doctor's appointment or if I had anything, she'd be like, okay, no, her main comment to me always was, no worries,
No worries.
no worries.
Well, June 7th specifically, were you scheduled to work at Moselle?
Yes, sir.
And did you have contact with Miss Maggie Murdaugh sometime prior to getting to Moselle that morning?
Yes, sir.
And I think it's in evidence, but tell these folks what contact you had with her.
She texted me and asked me if I could stop at the grocery store on my way to Moselle because Alex wanted some Capri Suns.
Wanted some what?
Capri Suns.
Okay.
And she said.
Somebody testified about seeing
apple
those.
and, I believe she said pineapple first, and then they changed. She came back with another text and said, no, he wants orange, I believe that's what he said.
They make orange Capri
That's what the
Sun.
text said, I'm not,
And did you try to get some orange Capri Suns?
yes.
Where'd you go?
I went to the,
Please say you went to the
Food
Piggly
Lion.
Wiggly.
And were you successful in your search for
No.
orange Capri Suns?
no, sir.
We heard testimony about pouch drinks
I'll show you what's marked States 54.
by someone. I
Blanca.
just don't remember who.
Excuse me, Defendants 54 for the record.
So she testified that the last time she saw Paul was on Friday, but Paul was
Did you have
at
any
the
other
house.
text with Miss
Monday.
Maggie before you got to Moselle?
Was at the house
Yes.
Monday and
Maggie,
made dinner.
Maggie told me she had to
So where
go
was
to a
Paul?
doctor's appointment. And she said that, in the text, Maggie said, Alec wants me to come home. And she said, and in a phone conversation, she told me, she said,
What'd she say?
I left some food in the refrigerator. Is there any way that you can cook? Paul likes the way you cook. So she said, because I don't think I'll be back in time. So I said, yeah, sure. I said, I'll do it. So it was nothing. I finished what I was doing, and then I started cooking, making sure the meal was ready for when Paul and they arrived at home, well, that afternoon. And we had another conversation on the phone where
Yes.
she told me, she said, Alec wants me to come home. And she kind of sounded like she didn't want to come home. Because she really liked being at Edisto. And they had a lot of work that was going on, and she was trying to make sure everything was ready for the 4th of July gathering that she was planning. So she was very detail orientated, so she wanted everything perfect. So she was kind of, she sounded like she was a little disappointed. And then she said, well, Alec asked Paul to come home too, because he's got to fix the mess up out there that that
Sunflowers.
CB had done.
That CB Road?
Yes, sir. And he said Alec had told Paul to come and fix it because they were planning on having a hunt that weekend, so he wanted everything ready and good to go.
So he'd asked Maggie to come, and then he had asked Alex to come.
That's what
Excuse
Maggie,
me, Paul to come.
Paul, that's what Maggie told me over the phone.
And looking at Defendants 54, can you read that?
There
Text.
is a theory that Alec lured both of them back to Moselle.
He said, thank you, I'm waiting at doctor. Alex wants me to come home. I had to leave. Door open at Edisto, but trust Mexicans to shut and lock for me. His dad is back in the hospital. The last doctor claims not cancer, it's pneumonia. And then she's got some emojis. She said, Alec is about to die. Hope he doesn't go down there to sleep. Needs to take care of himself as well.
And when she said, I trust the Mexicans to leave the door open, that didn't bother you?
No, sir.
Okay.
Huh.
When she said, I guess my question is, you said you didn't think she wanted to,
Mr. Meadows, you're standing in front of the jurors.
I apologize. When, you had just testified you didn't
Oh,
think
he-
she wanted to come home, was
He's
work being
touching
done at
everybody.
Edisto?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did she like being at Edisto?
Yes, sir, she
So,
did.
yes, these texts seem
And when
to
would
have
she stay
been
at
with
Edisto?
Blanca,
Any
not
chance she had.
her friend.
Where was a time of year that she liked being there more than other times?
Maggie was talking
Yes, sir.
to
Come
Blanca in those
around
texts.
spring, summer, she preferred to be in Edisto.
And I guess, was she at Edisto the night, Sunday night, do you know? Where was she Sunday night?
I'm not sure.
All speculation, unless she knows.
She can answer if she knows.
He's laying foundation.
I'm not sure.
He's trying to get to, he's trying to get to where Maggie was staying at the time and why she's coming home. He needs to tie that back because Maggie didn't want to go back to Moselle. And Alec asked Maggie and Paul to come back to Moselle. Neither of them had planned on being there.
Were you on schedule June 7th time-wise? Were you running late? Were you? What time were you supposed to be there?
I didn't have a set time to be there.
And she went to cook dinner.
After you and Maggie talked and texted, did you go to Moselle?
Yes, I did.
And when you got there, was Maggie there?
No, sir, she had just left.
Was Paul there?
No.
Was defendant Alex Murdaugh there?
Yes, he was.
Okay. When you walked in the house, was he up?
No, sir, he was in bed.
He was in bed.
Wait, what?
Based on the time you spent there and your experience with the defendant Alex Murdaugh, was he a morning person?
No, sir.
No.
What was he wearing?
How long were you there working before you saw Alex Murdaugh? That morning on June 7th of 21?
Probably a couple hours.
And
Yeah, what time is what? I want to know too.
can you tell these folks, did there come a point that morning where he left the house?
But this is going to him maybe not needing a
Alex
nap.
Murdaugh, did he leave and go to work or
Yes,
wherever?
he did.
Okay. And can you tell them what he was wearing, Alex Murdaugh, best of your memory, when he left Moselle?
He had a pair of khaki pants.
Blue work shirt?
Greenish, I call it seafoam color, polo shirt, and he put a sports coat, a blue sports coat over it. And he put his shoes on, which were usually right there next to a dresser that they had right there.
So like when he was wearing the tree
in
video,
the-
I bet.
In the living room area. That's where his shoes used to go, right there, so he just used to kind of slide his shoes on his way out the door.
Do you remember what type of shoes he had on June 7th, 2021, when he left?
His regular work
shoes,
shoes,
yeah.
the brown, there was a pair of brown leather shoes.
Like in that tree video.
Was it a long sleeve shirt or a short sleeve shirt he left on?
The polo's a short sleeve shirt.
Sir, it's a polo.
And staying out of everybody's view, do you remember anything
Go stand at the podium,
specifically
you won't
about
be in
that shirt?
anybody's way.
As he put his coat on, he was putting his shoes on and he was putting his coat on, and he was getting ready to walk out. He turned around and I said, Alec, I said, hold on a minute. I said, your collar's sticking up. So he turned around and I fixed his collar inside his jacket because one collar was sticking up
So
on
you
his shirt.
actually helped, I'm sorry, you helped move it.
Yes, I did.
And you said it was a long or short sleeve, I'm sorry.
That polo is a short sleeve,
And did it have buttons on part of it, or do you know?
just from here to here.
And was it a blue blazer? You
Is-
put on top of it?
It was a dark color.
You put a tie on?
Oh, she knows all the
He didn't
tea.
have a tie with that on.
No,
I
sir.
just,
No touchy, no touchy, no touchy, no touchy, no touchy. He could go stand back at the podium. There we go, there's the podium.
now, Miss Maggie had
Stay
asked
at
you
your
to
home.
fix dinner for the family. Did you do that?
I did.
Can you tell them what you made?
She called it steak burger, but it's cube steak and gravy, some white rice, and some green beans.
You're a good cook, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Show her the video.
Did you see or
Him come
talk to
back.
Maggie ever again after this text or this phone call?
So, was she gone?
Before I left Moselle, I texted her and I said, the dinner was on the, I believe I texted to the effect that I left dinner on the stove for them. And, that I can't really remember the text, but I did text her and let her know that the dinner was ready and that I was leaving.
And you said one of her phrases she used is "no worries." Had she said that to you that day?
Yes.
When was that? It doesn't matter.
I can't remember.
You got a family of your own, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you, when you left Moselle, what did you do?
Sir, she has 5
Pick up my
kids.
son at school.
And
What
your
time?
husband's working,
Yes,
law
sir.
enforcement?
Yes, sir.
What time?
And when you got home that night, did anybody call you that night?
No,
When did you hear about the murder at Moselle of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh?
the next morning when I was getting ready to go out there.
The next morning.
Yes, sir.
How did you hear?
Alex called me.
And what did he tell you? He didn't call, he called you the next morning.
He called me early the next morning.
And what did he say to you?
He sounded shaky on the phone. You could tell he was, his voice sounded really shaky. And he said, B, they're gone, they're gone. And that my initial thought was, did she go back to Edisto? That thought didn't cross my mind that he meant that they were dead at that time.
You just didn't comprehend what
No,
was
sir,
going on?
I did not. So he told me again, he said, no, B, they're dead. And at that point, I don't remember because I believe I dropped the phone, my husband got the phone. I don't remember after that.
You literally dropped the phone.
Yes,
And Did your husband get on the phone?
I don't remember. I don't remember. All I remember is when he said that they were dead, I dropped the phone. And I believe I said, I'll be right over. I'll be right over.
Did he, the defendant Alex Murdaugh, tell you which way to go when you got to the house?
He said him and Buster were at Alameda, so I told him I was going to Alameda. You know, I wanted to make sure they were okay, and so I went from my house to Alameda. And then when I got ready to leave Alameda, he said, well, when you go to the house, go in the front because there's a lot of sled agents by the kennels. You can't go in that way. And he said, just try to straighten up the way Maggie liked everything, you know, in the house. He said, you knew her the best. He said, you know how she likes stuff. So I did. I went to the house.
So you went to
I went
She went to help.
from Alameda.
Alameda to start with.
Yes, I did, to check on my Buster and Alec.
My Buster.
Comfort him.
Yes, sir.
To check on
And,
my Buster.
At his request, you went to Moselle to start cleaning up and getting the house in order?
Yes, sir. He said there was going to be people probably stopping by and bringing food and stuff. He said, I just want the house to look the way Maggie would like for it to look. So I said, okay. And I went to the house.
Did you have a usual way that you went in to Moselle, entrance-wise?
From the house, I would, if I was coming from my house, I would come in on the, I call it the Miley's side. So I would actually enter the property through the kennels. And if I was coming from Hampton, or if I, you know, in the other direction, then I would use the front entrance. But normally I use the kennel entrance coming from my house.
When you got to Moselle, we're now on the morning of June 8th, right, of 2021?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anybody in the property before you got to the main house?
No, sir.
And when you got to the main house, take us right there. Blanca, right now as you're walking in the house, what were your observations?
I need to know what time this is, counsel. This is
It
gonna
was
be so
hard because I
hard.
know she wasn't going to be coming back.
Oh,
And I didn't want to move. I didn't want to move her stuff. It was just a weird feeling going through when I unlocked the front door to get in. It felt cold.
You really cared for her, didn't you?
I did.
What'd you do when you got inside?
we can see that counsel is able to take time. And I appreciate that he is.
When I got inside, I didn't turn on any lights. I didn't do anything. I
wonder what
walked
time it is,
through the
though.
front door and I went in the kitchen. And I was kind of, when I looked in the kitchen, I kind of just stopped in my tracks and I looked at the stove. And I was kind of, I don't know what the word is. When I looked and I noticed the stove, that there was no pots on the stove.
Somebody
It was
cleaned.
kind of unusual because usually when they ate dinner the night before, the pots usually stayed on the stove. Very, very seldom would she put, certain meals in the refrigerator. A lot of times it was just left on the stove until the next day.
Oh,
And the pots were not in the sink and they were not on the stove.
someone
And then
cleaned.
as I walked through, I if you walk through the kitchen, like you're going to, from the kitchen, if you walk through the kitchen, if you go to the left, there's two, freezer and a refrigerator, and the laundry room sat right there to the
Laundry?
left. There's a back door to the back porch, and then there's the laundry room door. They're both right there. And as I turned to go to the laundry room, I noticed that
What?
there was, her pajamas were in the middle of the doorway, right in the middle, laid neatly in the middle of the doorway going into the laundry room.
What?
It was her pajama pants, a pair of underwear, and her pajama top.
What?
Was that unusual?
That was very unusual.
Why?
Because she wouldn't lay her clothes out like that, not in the middle of the door like that. It just didn't look right to me.
And you took care of the house?
Yes,
You took care of the clothes?
yes.
And not to get too personal, but sometimes you can't help it. Were the underwear there with the pajamas unusual?
Yes.
Why?
She didn't wear underwear with her pajamas.
No underwear with pajamas.
Lots of people don't,
But that struck you?
No underclothes with the pajamas.
because they're
But
pajamas.
that struck you as unusual, they were there with the pajamas?
Yes, sir, because the underwear appeared to be clean, not dirty. They still had like fold marks.
And the pots, and I may have just missed it, you said, where would the pots end up when you found them?
They still had fold marks.
After I looked at the pajamas on the floor, the way that they were set, I turned around and I said, well, I wonder where the pots are. So I opened the refrigerator door, and the pots were sitting inside the refrigerator with lids on them. And I was like, who did this? I don't know at that point, but that was not normal.
It could have been one of the
For
25
the
people
pot,
that
the whole
descended
pot
on the
to be
house,
sitting in the fridge.
and they just shoved the pots in the fridge.
Did you make any other observations in the house, the bathroom, or anywhere else?
In the master bathroom,
I am riveted.
was,
Blanca knows the things.
her clothes were sitting next to the tub. It was a small pile of clothes right there next to the tub. And by the shower, if you walk in the master bedroom, there's a big garden tub, spa type tub. And then right here is the shower, and there's a window. On the floor next to the shower was a slight puddle of water, a towel, and a pair of khaki pants.
What?
And then as I
What?
went to the left to see if there was anything else that was out, I looked in the closet, and in the closet was a white damp towel on the floor, and there was I'm pretty sure the T-shirt was white at one time, but they get kind of dingy after a few years. But it appeared that a T-shirt had fallen off of the stack of T-shirts that were on top of the shelf right there in the closet. It was laying on the floor next to the towel.
Like somebody grabbed his shirt
When-
off the
when
stack
you
and it
took
fell.
care of the home, was that, tell us how the clothes were laid out, the shirts, the shorts were, you saying up on a shelf, or the shirts?
Like somebody
How-
pulled his shirt off.
In the closet, there was a
fast.
shelf.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Some shelves, smaller shelves right here, and then there was some long ones. Maggie used to keep her clothes on these. And then there was a shorter one, kind of like little box-looking, Alex used to keep his clothes, his belts and stuff in that. And then on top, there was also an area where he kept T-shirts. They were folded and they were kept on the shelf.
When you say T-shirts, I know what a T-shirt is, but I mean, were they T-shirts like
Were they Hanes
I'm
beefy
wearing
tees?
right now, were they
It-
T-shirts with pockets?
It
What
was
was it?
usually, they would be T-shirts, like if they would go, like when you go to a restaurant and they have like the logo of those type of T-shirts. He had a big collection of those.
We love a logo
Would you
tee.
put them on the shelf?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you iron a t-shirt?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you washed all the clothes?
Yes, I did.
Did he have a certain place that he kept shorts versus long pants?
Yes, sir. When you walk in the master bedroom, when you enter the master bedroom, the bed was right here. At the foot of the bed, you had a dresser here and a dresser here.
No, chat, you're not supposed to iron your shirts. It's okay
The
if you
right
don't.
dresser, on the top drawers were usually his underwear, his socks. The next drawer was his t-shirts. On the bottom drawer were the pajama pants that he would wear or his shorts that he would wear to sleep in. In the left drawer, and one sits on this side of the door going into the bathroom, and the other one's right here. On the left dresser, he kept his white t-shirts that he would wear under when he wore a suit. He would wear the t-shirts were in
undershirts, okay.
one of those drawers. And then the other two drawers were shorts, the dressier shorts, and then the not so dressier shorts.
Nice shorts,
You know that.
work shorts.
So you testified a shirt looked like it had fallen when you saw it this morning?
Yes, sir.
June 8th, 2021, okay. Was it still clean?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, she's the best
put it
witness
back?
to help visualize what was
Yes, sir.
happening.
My boss, Don Zelenka, just reminded me that the food that you cooked, did you look and see how much was eaten in the pots?
No, sir, I did not.
We know there was some eaten. We will hear about that later with the medical examiner. We know that some dinner was eaten by Paul and Maggie.
Now, you said there was a damp towel. Where was that?
In the closet, on the floor.
What is that?
And I know
What
what
is-
damp means, but when you touched it, did it feel?
It was damp.
Okay. What did you do with it?
Took it to the laundry room.
And you said there were some pants there.
Yes, sir, there's a pair of khakis by the shower.
And what'd you do with those?
Took them to the laundry room.
Did you wash them?
Yes, sir.
Because the crime scene had been cleared. And she was helping set the house in order for everyone that was going to descend on the house for a funeral. That seems very much like what you would do to help. That's what I do to help. It's like, how can we straighten up if people are going to be here? So she was trying to get things in order to help. Wow. So let's talk more about the pants. Are they going to show the pants? Or are they going to show the video? If I was the prosecution right now, I would show the video with the tree and ask if those were the pants or those were the type of pants
Ladies and gentlemen, let's stand for a moment.
from the tree video. So what we know is that Blanca recovered a damp towel in the closet. There was a puddle of water near the shower. The SLED agent that walked around the house, by the way, remember there was no search warrant at the home because SLED just did like a look-see-loo around the house, and SLED never served a search warrant at the house. They didn't clear out the people at the house. So this is on June 8th. She finds a damp towel, a puddle of water, a long pair of khaki pants. They have to show her
Please do not discuss the case.
the pants. Oh, they're putting the jury. They sent the jury out. Why are they sending the jury out for the morning break? Your Honor, you can't send the jury out for the morning break. We have questions. We have questions. The chat is asking, after the crime, shouldn't stuff be left untouched? They cleared the crime scene, so no. And also, Alec at this point wasn't a suspect to her. She was trying to put the house in order. But we
Do
know.
not discuss your testimony. We'll take about 10 minutes.
All right, we're taking a 10-minute break. I'm going to answer some questions. This has been, look, there have been 4 witnesses that have really brought quite a lot of information in this case. Blanca is one of them. It's been Blanca, Jeannie Seckinger, Annette, and Shelley Smith. Those four witnesses have really created the picture of what is happening here. I don't understand the PJs. You guys are asking, were pictures taken? It seems that SLED didn't take any photos in the house when they walked through it
and looked under beds. I think Sled was just looking to see if they could see the gun. I don't think Sled was actually looking to see if there was evidence that the call was coming from inside the house, if you will. It is just a very, very interesting thing. So we have started getting into the actual heart of the testimony today. And I wonder if the prosecution said that they would be wrapping up maybe middle of next week. So I wonder if we're going to hear from a few more of these witnesses who actually saw, heard, and did. But it's not surprising to me. I know the chat was like, wait, Alec asked her to go back to the house and help. I'm not off put by that at all. A, Alec knew she would take care of the house. B, he knew people were descending on the house. And C, if he knew he had left stuff around, that she wouldn't think anything of it to help clean up the house after he had lost his wife and son and help put things in order. She clearly cares for the family, but she also has a very good memory and she knows how things should have been in order at Moselle. This is also the witness that has now testified that Maggie thought it was odd that she was being asked to go back to Moselle, and Maggie really didn't want to go back to Moselle on June 7th. So Maggie went back to Moselle on June 7th, and he called Paul to go to Moselle on June 7th. And Paul had come home, it sounds like on Friday, and gotten his laundry done, and then was gone. So it sounded like Paul wasn't necessarily planning at being at Moselle either, but was coming home to deal with the sunflowers that Alec talked so much about. So now I think we're going to see the state argue that they were both lured back to the house and had other places to be. Paul didn't really need to deal with these sunflowers, but clearly the sunflower story was on Alec's mind when he talked to police. The sunflower story was on his mind, and the boat case was on his mind. And so it will be very interesting seeing if we also hear, we're going to have to hear from CB Rowe, the groundskeeper. There is a lot more testimony to come. But in 15 days into trial, do y'all feel like we're finally starting to get into the heart of what happened tonight? Because I feel like this testimony, though I still have a lot of questions and she is not done, we are finally starting to get into what happened that night. And we're starting to see exactly what Sled didn't do. And while some SLED agents meticulously picked up cartridge casings the night of the murder from the kennels, no one gave a fuck about the house, whether it was intentionally or by oversight or both. But remember, the female SLED agent that was walking around the house was being followed by lawyer and brother of Alec, John Marvin, and one other person. I can't remember which other lawyer. There were 25 people in the house, and the SLED agent was being followed around. I have never heard of law enforcement not serving a search warrant at a murder scene because they didn't want to displace people at the location, ever. So a number of you have asked, they didn't eat dinner. We heard an opening from the prosecution that they did eat dinner. The medical examiner will testify to that they ate dinner shortly before their death, and we will get into how they know that and stomach contents and all of that. I'm not going to get into that today. We're going to get to questions. It's, wow. Sherry Lloyd said, no coffee today. It's all about the tea. Look, when they barely cross-examined Tinsley this morning, I was so pissed. I was like, where's the rest of the cross-examination? But also Tinsley is a hostile witness to the defense, very. And he's just going to keep biting back at them and saying shit. So it made sense for them to limit what Tinsley had to say and be like, there wasn't really going to be this big explosion on the 10th. Tinsley's never going to give them anything else. Tinsley's never going to give them more. He's like, well, you're misconstruing it. It was just going to be a battle of the wills. And the jury might have either loved Tinsley or hated Tinsley, but the defense wasn't going to give him his moment to fight with them. So they were like, fuck it, we're out. This doesn't matter, we're out. They were just, there was no good ground for them to be made. So they just stopped. It's wild. But now we've got an attorney who knows how to pause and listen, which is delightful to see today, but we still don't know exactly what time things were. And I hope they tie that back. What time did she get back to Moselle on June 8th after she went to Alameda where Alec was with Buster? It hurt my heart that she called him my Buster. Like, she probably felt that way about Paul and Maggie as well. the amount of people around the Murdaughs that cared for them and had care for them, not just actually took care of them, but had care for them is incredible to see. I need to go back and look at the testimony because we heard about a pouch, like a Capri Sun pouch at the kennels at the murder scene. And now I need to go back and see exactly where that was found. Because now we know that Alec is like craving Capri Sun for whatever reason. And Alec is in the middle of whatever he's in the middle of, but it's another thing that ties him to being at the crime scene. It's just very, very interesting to me. But this is finally starting to make a little bit more sense. And earlier in this case, I have said that I have wondered, will Alec's lies be enough for this jury to be like, that's sus? Yeah, it's sus, but is it enough to get beyond a reasonable doubt? He lied about being the kennels. He tried to get Shelley Smith to lie for him about how long he was at his mother's house. But now that we're getting to, there was clearly a shower, even though Sled said there wasn't. Why? There were damp towels, but the damp towels were in the closet. Do y'all think Sled opened the closet doors? It looked like somebody took a shirt off a top pile of shirt and a shirt fell. Everyone who's piled shirts up vertically has had that happen. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Okay, I'm going to get to some questions because we've definitely got questions, and I want to make sure we get to them before court comes back. But I need to make sure that I can, I've just messed up my second display real quick. So me getting to questions. Hold on, we're professionals here. I've totally messed up my second display. Bring it back. Help. Second display. Come back. So I'm going to have to fix this real quick so that when we get back to, this is the more important thing. So when we get back to court, it is fixed. I don't know where it went. And the thing is, I can still see it as a sidecar. So sorry, y'all. I don't even have a funky beat to lay down as I'm trying to get to it. But now let's see. This is frozen. All right. We're going to have to detach the display. Sorry as I talk through it, y'all. I know there's like 37,000 of you here. Well, my brain is buffering with stress and anxiety. Why don't you go ahead and hit this subscribe button? It'll help. It'll just help calm my nerves. It will absolutely help calm the nerves. So let's make sure that this is back up. All right. We are rolling a little bit to get that back up so that we have our court feedback. Yay! Look, man, mobile streaming setup is tough. So mobile streaming setup doesn't always help. And I was just trying to make sure, because the one station doesn't always come back right when court comes back. And I wanted to make sure that I could monitor court coming back on a second channel. Let's see. We've got 37,000 watching. Said other channel, Long Crime, has 72,000 watching. I think if you guys subscribe and like the video, we can bump it up higher in discovery because we need to do that. All right, Emily, we're good. We're all along for the ride. Y'all, I am discombobulated. I am just. It's interesting also that counsel addressed the text. The internet was definitely like, Maggie's texts. Okay, interesting. It's interesting that he addressed that those texts were back and forth to Blanca, and Blanca's like, no, I'm not offended by the way she phrased her text. I knew what she meant. And Blanca, the most interesting thing Blanca had to say is that on the phone with Maggie seemed upset, disappointed, frustrated that she had to go back to Moselle, even though Alec's father is in hospice and they're in this group text about when they're going to go see father. She wanted to go back to Edisto that night. She didn't want to be at Moselle. She wasn't supposed to be at Moselle. Here's the thing. If this is a vigilante, they need to talk to Blanca about how much Maggie had been staying at Edisto. They've talked a lot about the fact that Paul wasn't staying full-time at Moselle either. So if this was a vigilante, how did they know Maggie and Paul would be at Moselle that night? because by all accounts, Paul had come home over the weekend and then gone back to where he was staying in the city. And Maggie was staying at the beach house, it sounds like doing renovations and getting ready for the 4th of July. So how would someone know that they were going to be there that night? Alec called them and told them to be back there that night. They had a groundskeeper, and when we hear from CB Rowe, I think we'll hear about whether or not he was expecting Paul and Maggie to be at the property as well. But what we have right now is that Maggie and Paul weren't even supposed to be there. So if they're not supposed to be there, how is it a vigilante or a random crime? And it's not like they can stake out the place and park down the street and see if anybody's coming or going. There's nowhere to be. It's 2-lane country roads where you would see someone that's out of place. Trust that. If people are going to notice anything, it's a truck that they don't recognize out of place. And they would have to notice a truck that's out of place because Alec was on high alert, right? Paul's getting threats about the boat case, he said. The boat case is coming up. He would have been on high alert. So wouldn't you notice a suspicious truck? And if you noticed a sussy truck, wouldn't you have told the police, actually, there was this truck down the road when I got home that I've never seen before? Because you know, there's nowhere to pull off the road that you're not going to be seen on those 2-lane roads going in and out of Moselle. And then, so now we've got a little bit more context that they're not even supposed to be there. And then he lies about being at the kennels. And then his phone that is always in his hand, that he is always using, is off for an hour when they're murdered. And then he leaves to go see his mom's house. And then he says, if anyone asks, I was here for 30 or 40 minutes. And then. And this is where the state is really starting to build their circumstantial case more for me. We'll see. I'm actually still really frustrated they buried this under all of the financial crimes, because this is the testimony that they need to tie in very well. And they need to ask Blanca, and I hope they do when we come back from break, they need to ask Blanca more about how much Maggie was staying at Edisto. All right, let's get to some of your questions. There's no coincidences in a lot of things. Sometimes there's 1 or 2 coincidences, but this is a lot of coincidences. What's the pajama thing? Here's the thing with the pajamas. Something was off in the house. Things have been done, things have been moved. Maybe her pajamas were in the dryer with some underwear and somebody took it out because they were doing something else. But Alec never said he touched anything in the house. There are times if you are in grief and you are in a house and you are dealing with somebody who's just passed, there are things that people do that are trying to clean up, trying to make normal, trying to make sure that the sprinklers are turned off, to have a wake in the backyard when it's your parents' house and you just don't know where to even go and do that. But if anybody was asking, you would be like, I don't know what I did. I'm trying to make the house ready. People are going to descend on us with casserole. I don't know. But Alec didn't tell them any of that. And people had been there with him since shortly after the murders. So when would he have done any of these things? After people were there? Because people would have been like, oh no, we saw him. He was trying to straighten up. He was just doing all the things. But Blanca felt like things were out of place at the house. Even somebody putting the dishes away in the refrigerator. Could that have been one of the 25 lawyers that showed up and they were like, oh, stuff was on the stove, so I just threw it in the refrigerator? Sure. But wouldn't somebody have just told law enforcement that if they have a search warrant for the house and they're treating the house as if it's an extension of the crime scene? And wouldn't all the lawyers have known that? But when Blanca got to the house, it was no longer a crime scene. It had been cleared. When the lawyers are walking around, it's not a crime scene. It had been cleared. And they're walking all over the place. The lawyers were walking around all over the place, even when law enforcement was there, and law enforcement didn't seem to give any fucks. It's weird. We are now starting to get to, oh, I got more questions. But now the questions aren't like, is the prosecution going to fill in these holes? My questions are starting to be like, and, oh, court is back. Hold on. Let's go back to the judge. I'm going to get to questions, I promise. I'm sorry I talked so much. I have so many thoughts after Blanca's testimony. I have so many thoughts. Judge, why can't I hear you? I just want to see the judge's face.
You may bring the jury.
Okay, that's why. All right, I'm going to get to as many questions as I can, but this witness, we're just going to be listening to what this witness has to say and tying things in, and I'm going to need to go find what witness testified about, like, the Capri Sun pouch, because that came up at the crime scene, and I have so many questions. Holly said, good morning from Omaha. Tinsley Cross is going to be ghost pepper level spicy. It was, and then the defense just absolutely noped right out of it, didn't they? They noped all the fucking way out. Can we just get an answer to the fire in their old home? Diesel all over the house. What the hell? T-Mac, I have no idea. I have no idea. But I've seen that a bunch of you have tagged me about it on Twitter. I will look into it. But is this another... Look, when I worked in the arson unit at the DA's office as a law clerk, 90% of what we dealt with was insurance stuff. So I have questions. I got a lot of questions, but we're not investigating that, but I have a lot of questions. And if they're saying Alex Crimes financial thefts dated all the way back, is it odd that there might be a sussy fire here and there? No, that's not odd. But that's all rampant speculation. Look, that's all speculation. No, we don't clap for speculation. Yeah, all speculation. I don't have my little chimes here on this soundboard. I need to update this soundboard for travel. I didn't anticipate traveling with a soundboard. This trial was supposed to be getting done. PJ's stage looked like she was going to stay. I don't know. Maybe? Testing 1, 2, 3. Daffy, my brain is doing that. Didn't the forensic folks say Alex's clothes smelled like laundry detergent? Yes. We all want to know how the clothes smelled so fresh and so clean after they had been out in a hot summer night where the police said Alec was sweaty AF. They didn't use those exact words. I'm paraphrasing. And they noted how unusual it was that his clothes smelled so fresh when they opened them up in the evidence bag a few days later. So yes, I've got questions about the laundry. Like, how do you keep clothes in the South in the summer smelling fresh in a bag? Was the Capri Sun near Maggie's phone? I remember they talked about trash near her phone. There was trash near her phone on the roadside, but it was a can. The Capri Sun, as I remember, was at the crime scene, but that was so fucking long ago, and there was so much extemporaneous testimony since then that I can't remember. And if I can't remember, the jury might not be able to either, but a number of you were like, wait, because the Capri Sun pouch seemed weird to me at the crime scene. It was like, wait, what? Wait, what? So, we just have to.
Thank
If
you. You
Agent
may
Croft-
proceed.
It was Agent Croft in the Captain America video. Okay. Tinsley testified that none of them had life insurance, so what the fuck was the roadside incident about? I don't know if Tinsley was correct, because we've heard that the roadside incident was about insurance.
Mr. Waters, if you all would be seated.
Dick, sit down. We heard that he had life
Ms. Simpson.
insurance from Dick after the roadside incident in a press conference.
I think where we left off,
I think it's possible he grabbed a clean
Well,
shirt to
let
give to
me-
Sled. I think it's possible. I think it's absolutely possible.
I'll show you what's entered in State 7. Just, can you see those pants in State 7?
Yes, sir.
Show us.
Do you recognize those pants?
Hear your response.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You recognize those pants in State 7?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know those? How do you recognize them?
I took care of the laundry.
Have you cleaned them?
Yes, sir.
Where were these pants kept in State 7?
The left dresser and
I'm going to find state
The-
7 and show it at a break. I'll find it.
third drawer, third or fourth drawer.
know
They weren't in the ones where, he had one drawer with shorts that he would usually wear on the weekends, you know, the dressier ones. Those were kept in the drawer underneath that specific drawer.
So you know what drawers these were in?
Yes.
If you know from being there and taking care of the clothes and taking care of the family, were these his shorts he liked to wear a lot or not? Did you see him in these shorts much?
No.
And were these shorts clean the last time you saw them?
Yes.
Now, this shirt that's also in States 7, had you seen that shirt before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where was this shirt kept in the closet at Moselle?
The top shelf, above where his clothes hang, the top shelf. There was a shelf up there.
And you've testified it looked like a shirt had fallen from that shelf when you got there on the morning of June 8th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh,
Was
sure.
this shirt kept in that same place as the shirt? that
They're
had
going
fallen?
with heat change clothes, of course.
Yes, sir.
And the shirt that had fallen, what did you do with it after you picked it up?
I folded it back up and I placed it back on the shelf.
Was it clean?
Ma'am,
Yes, sir.
I understand that you all are apparently having a personal conversation, but you need to speak into the mic.
Yes, sir.
All right, look
Get
at
it,
this
Your
left
Honor.
side.
Yeah, counsel, go stand back at the podium like a fucking lawyer.
Had you cleaned this shirt?
Judge Sass.
It's in State 7, prior to June 7th of 2021.
I probably did.
And where would it have been placed after you cleaned it? Where would you have put it?
Up in the closet if there was no more room in the drawer.
Now, could we please play States 306, please?
Yeah, I got my wristband for the concert tonight. I'm very excited. Sorry. Had to let
Can
all
you
know that.
see, would you look right there at your monitor? Is there a picture of that when Mr. Monk? Okay, you freeze it right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this, who's in the picture?
Alex,
And can you tell what kind of pants he's got on?
khaki pants.
Okay. Can you tell what kind of shoes he's got on from that, Miss Simpson?
It appears to be a pair of loafers,
Loafers.
house shoes, loafers.
I'm glad they
Okay, well,
showed the
tell me
video.
what you mean by house shoes.
Just his shoes that he would usually wear around the house if he was wearing shoes.
So would he usually just wear them inside?
Yes, sir.
But these appear to be those shoes.
It appears to be, yes.
And this shirt that Alex Murdaugh is wearing on June 7th, depicted in States 306, had you seen that shirt prior to June 7th?
It was in the closet,
Okay. And what type of shirt is that?
a Columbia shirt.
Columbia shirt.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many of those type shirts did he have?
He had a few in the closet,
And what
So
color
not
is that
the
shirt?
work shirt.
just like a greenish aqua seafoam color.
Why do you keep using the term seafoam? I'm not fussing, I'm just asking.
The term seafoam, when Maggie was looking at different color palettes to paint, that color came up in one of the color palettes. So we would refer to it as a seafoam.
Because it is.
But that's the term that was used for that color in one of the color palettes.
Because it is
she had.
seafoam. That's exactly what the color is. And they have a beach
After
house.
June 7th of 2021, did you ever see
We
that
love a
shirt again?
seafoam. I get it.
No, sir, there was like a pink one, a white one, a baby blue in the closet. I do not remember that shirt being in there.
She remembers
And on
Alex's
June
clothes better
8th
than
of
I know my own
2021,
clothes.
In the morning hours, when you came back over there, was that shirt there?
No, sir.
Were these shoes that you called house slippers, were those there?
No, sir.
Did you ever see those house shoes again?
Oh,
No, sir.
And where did he usually keep them?
In the closet.
oh shit. Oh shit.
Did he have any other type shoes? Canvas or any kind of boat shoes?
He had a lot of shoes in the closet.
Do you remember any shoes that were canvas type shoes?
The boat shoes, like the Sperry,
Spirit shoes?
yes, sir.
And do you
So-
remember those?
Yes, sir. They used to sit in the closet.
Put on gloves if you're
used
going to
to
show
sit in
them,
the closet.
counsel. So the shoe,
After
the
June
clothes
7th
are with
of
the guns, they're just
2021, did you
missing,
ever see the Sperry boat shoes again?
missing
No,
clothes.
sir, I do not recall seeing them in the closet.
Never, ever.
No, sir.
Missing clothes, missing guns. 2 missing guns, consistent with the murder weapon. Missing clothes, consistent with what he was wearing in the Snapchat video. State's case is turning around a little bit for me today. How about y'all?
Did you stay on?
I'll
and
take a
work
poll after her
For a
testimony
period of time for Alex Murdaugh at
about whether
the
this
motel?
testimony changes what you're thinking.
Yes, sir, I did.
And did your day-to-day functions change after June 7th as far as Moselle itself?
Yes, sir, they did.
Well, tell them how that happened and what the change was.
After Maggie and Paul were killed, Alec did not stay on the property. On the 10th, when I believe his father passed away, after
Mr.
the,
Murdaugh.
yes, I believe after the service that we had for him at the cemetery, Alec called and asked if my husband and I would stay on the property because him and Buster were not going to be able to stay there. So we agreed to take care of the property and maintain it while he said until he decides what he's going to do with it.
And did in fact you and your husband start residing there for a period of time?
We did.
And what, were you paid for that?
Yes, sir.
They became the
Would you
property
mind telling them
managers.
how much?
What?
He would give me $1,500 a week to make sure that anything needed for the farm was taken care of. And my husband and I would maintain cutting the grass on that property, which is a lot of grass out there. And it would take in
Fair.
excess of 2 days to cut.
Would you cut it?
Yes, sir, I would help my husband.
Were you also taking care of the dogs?
Yes, sir.
Tell these folks what were the dogs' names?
Grady and Bubba.
Grady and Bubba.
Yes, sir.
You fed them?
Yes, sir.
Counsel.
Took care of them?
Yes, sir.
Counsel.
Where is Bubba? What's today? Whatever today is, where's Bubba today?
He's with me.
Oh, Bubba, I feel so much better about
So
Bubba.
you have Bubba in your home.
We had an open
Yes,
loop.
sir, I do.
Did
Bubba's
Bubba
with
have his own
Blanca.
pen?
Yes, he did.
And I don't know if you've seen, but could, at some point, and I'll keep going to the video of.
Y'all, we were all kind of wondering where Bubba
Could we
was.
play that now, please?
I feel a lot better about it now.
Please.
The chat had deep concern for Bubba. I'm so glad she
Craig,
has
before we get
Bubba.
there, when, and I'm sorry, I'm going back to this real quick. Is that the shirt he left for the office in that day?
No, sir.
Okay,
Oh,
go ahead.
okay. The shirt in the Snapchat video of the tree is a different shirt than he went to work in. So he came home from work, changed into his around the house clothes, and those clothes are now missing.
Had you ever seen Bubba with an animal in his mouth?
Yes, sir.
All right, tell him about that, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Bubba was sassy.
When Bubba was running around, if I or anybody, if the chickens were running out of the coop, he would chase the chickens and he would just go after the chickens or the guineas, whatever was out there.
And would you ever catch him?
Yes, he would.
All right. And how would Bubba, the chicken, get out of Bubba's mouth? And
You have to make several attempts to get the chicken out of his mouth, and at points he would growl at you if you tried to take his toy. Basically, that's what he.
in your experience in being there, was it easier for a family member or somebody Bubba knew to get the chicken out?
If he's
Yes.
stubborn.
Yes. Yes. This is good questioning.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But would it take a period of time to get the chicken out of Bubba's mouth?
Yes, it would.
Good questions, counsel. Because the chicken was found just sitting in the feed room at the crime scene. It wasn't discarded. It wasn't just lying around. Someone from the family got the chicken away from Bubba. And this was less than 3 minutes before the murders happened, according to the
Yes,
state.
ma'am.
Did you have a conversation with Alex Murdaugh about a shirt?
Bubba wasn't running away
Yes,
from
I
some
did.
stranger.
And let's go back. Where did this take place?
That
At the
Snapchat
little
video is
house.
this case.
All right. What do you mean, the little house?
After Paul and Maggie were killed, Alec was not staying at Moselle. My husband and I were, and he would often stay in different places. But all his clothes and toiletries and everything were placed in the house that sits between Mr. Johnny Parker and his brother Randy. There's a small 2-bedroom house right there, and that's where all his belongings at the time went.
And where is that located?
In Hampton.
Okay, in Hampton. And who furnished this little house with clothes and toiletries and made sure stuff was there?
I did.
So she got,
And who was Alex
The
Murdaugh
house set
staying
up.
there with when he stayed there? If anybody?
He never stayed there. He would just go and get his clothing and eat whatever, if he would have a snack or something. He wasn't really eating.
Well, during the month of August, do you remember him having a conversation with you about a shirt?
what?
Yes, sir.
Did you
What?
find that to be unusual?
Yes, sir.
What?
Tell them what the conversation was and why you found it unusual.
Tell us.
Please.
He walked in to the little house, and I was getting ready to leave, and he said, "B, I need to talk to you." And he said, "Come here, sit down." So I went in the living room. I sat down, and he was pacing back and forth in the living room. And he said, "I got a bad feeling." He said, "I got a bad feeling." He said, "Something's not right." And then he said, "Well, there's a video. There was a video that was out. I hadn't seen a video." And he said, "You remember the shirt I was wearing, that Vinnie Vine shirt?" That's what he said to me. And in my mind, I was saying, I don't remember a Vinnie Vine's shirt. It was the polo shirt. But I didn't mention, he said, "Well, you know what, I was wearing that shirt." He said, in the, that day. And still, I was just, I didn't say anything, but I was kind of
Sus?
thrown back because I don't remember that. I don't remember him wearing that shirt that day when he left. I know what shirt he was wearing because I fixed the collar, and the collar's a different material.
And I don't know what a Vinnie Vine shirt is. But when he left that day, was he wearing a Vinnie Vine shirt? Or was he wearing the collar you described?
It was a polo shirt.
Polo. Just using your common sense, did it appear to you he was trying to tell you to say, "I was wearing the shirt"?
Objection is sustained. That's
Look.
the formal question.
Look,
How did you take that conversation?
Dick's trying to distract because this is bad for him.
I felt like I felt confused at first, and then I know what he was wearing the day he left the house, and I was basically confused. I didn't really know
And then,
whether he was trying to
yes,
get me to say that shirt, if I was to be asked, that if
Yes, he
that was
was.
the shirt he was wearing.
yes, he was. Yes, he
day.
was.
Ms. Blanca.
Follow up with that. Same as Miss Shelley. Lie about the time at the mom's house, lie about what he's wearing. Lie about the time at the mom's house, lie about what you're wearing. The clothes are missing, the guns are missing, and he's asked 2 people to lie. That is too many coincidences too far, y'all. The case may be circumstantial, and that's fine, but when you have people trying to cover their tracks after a video is out, that is a whole, no, what did Dick say? That's a horse of a different color? Or maybe now the jury is all singing from the same sheet of music.
455, 457 for ID only.
Counsel, don't lose focus.
Do you recognize these?
Dick only objects
Do
when
they
shit's
relate
bad
to
for
your
him.
testimony without saying what they are?
He was trying to get me
Yes.
to change.
On September 4th of 2021, did you have a conversation with defendant Alex Murdaugh?
I did.
Okay. And what did he ask you to do?
He asked me to send him copies, send him a photo of the insurance cards.
And do you know what day of the week that was? And I'll go back here so you can talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go back to the podium.
I don't remember the day. All I know was it's on my phone.
He asked you to send him a copy of his medical card?
Oh, it was on a Saturday morning because the next day was my daughter's birthday. That early that morning when he called me, he asked me, when I sent him the picture of the plastic insurance card, he said, no, I need the cardboard one. Well, the cardboard one was in Maggie's purse. It wasn't in the area where I
What else
usually
is in
kept the
Maggie's
cards
purse?
in the cabinet. So I told him, I said, it's in Maggie's purse. He said, well, go ahead and get the cards
my.
and send me a picture of them. And
What else was in
I
Maggie's
asked him if
purse?
he was okay, and he said, well, I'm just getting some routine exams done, he said, and I need the number so I could go ahead and schedule these appointments. And it was a Saturday because I was thinking, where's he gonna go to get appointments done on a Saturday? But I didn't say anything. I went and I took pictures and I sent him all the copies of the cards.
Oh, the cheese may is
That I
coming in
found.
hot. What else?
We'd offer say 455, 457.
What else? What else?
First of all, he consulted with me about this as he walked up to me a moment ago. I don't quite understand the relevance.
Hey,
why
that's a
him
speaking
asking for-
objection, Dick, my guy.
I'm sorry, if he would just consult with me for a moment and tell me what the relevance is, but he hadn't told me.
With your permission?
Yes, sir.
Dick, shut up. What else is in Maggie's purse? This is a reason for her going into Maggie's purse.
Sorry, Your Honor, we sort of just talked. Surprise.
Did you hear Dick just say surprise? He's saying that in front of the jury to make it seem like the state is springing stuff on him, which they can't do.
Our previously made objections, I apologize.
This is what Dick does.
What previous objection?
This
What
is-
previous objection? You said
The
reserving
previous
your
objection,
previous
I
objection.
apologize, I'm just so used to saying that. I apologize. I
Oh my
had
God, oh
no
my God.
previous made objection to this document concerning this issue. I apologize.
Did it without objection. There you are.
I will break this down at the break.
455. I'll stand right here, okay?
Yeah, stay at the podium, counsel.
Were you texting with Alex Murdaugh
We're too
about
stressed.
sending these cards?
Yes, I was.
And that's the text, and is that his medical card you sent him a picture of?
One of the medical cards I sent him a picture of, yes.
The prosecution should have argued the relevance in front of the jury because Dick was
Don't go any farther
talking.
than my answer asked, okay?
Yes, sir.
Oh, we're in dangerous territory.
After
Why?
this date, September 4th of 2021, did you and your husband quit living at Moselle?
We did.
He asked for the insurance cards right before he had someone shoot him in the head on the side of the road? What? That's September 4th. He's asking for the insurance cards September 4th.
Couple other questions, and I know everybody be glad I'm sitting.
Saturday, when he
Um,
got shot on the side of the road.
In addition to
That's why they're
cleaning
treading
the house,
carefully.
did you ever look at Maggie's Mercedes to try to clean it afterwards?
I did.
What, if anything, did you find?
As I was cleaning the vehicle, removing her,
Ma'am?
Gives a date, or at least a range of dates.
You see how flustered Dick is?
that was about a week after.
Okay. After the murders? do you remember when you cleaned her car?
I cleaned the car when they asked me to pick it up from the
Impound.
impound sheriff's department.
And who asked you to pick it up?
Randy and his wife had dropped off Paul's truck, and they were getting ready to leave to go out of town, so he asked if my husband and I could go pick up the Mercedes from the impound and bring it back to the house.
And did you clean it after that?
I did.
And what did you
Because she
find,
was
if
taking
anything?
care.
But she still had paint for the Edisto house that she was trying to touch up some areas at the house, and she had some pillows that she was gonna
She
return.
sounds nervous.
And as I moved the seat to clean, to vacuum underneath the driver's side seat, I found her ring.
Or what?
Her ring?
Her ring,
Her wedding ring?
her wedding band.
Now, did Maggie, based on your time with her and experience, like being at Moselle by herself?
No.
And leading up to the murders, was she anxious about anything?
She had a conversation with me. She had a conversation with me a few months prior. I walked in the house and
Sled not find
Maggie
that.
said, "Hey, Blanca," she said, "I got to talk to you. I got something to tell you." And so she said, "Let me make some coffee." And she went and made a pot of coffee. She made me a cup, she made herself a cup, and we went. She said, "Let's go talk." And we went into the hunting room,
When was this?
and she closed the door, because Alec was sleeping in the bedroom, which is on the other side of the house, but she closed the door. When Maggie closed the door,
Hearsay.
Response?
Judge, I think, was she anxious about money issues?
I object to,
Did you see?
You objected, and
Did you see Dick throw the papers?
but he is
I understand
Did you see Dick throw the papers?
your objection.
Did you see Dick throw the papers?
Well,
Did you
I
see
don't
him?
care what you're doing. There's an objection to the previous question. The objection is sustained.
Oh my God, oh my
While
God.
entertaining the objection, you cannot pose another question.
Correct.
The objection is sustained.
I apologize.
Yes, sir.
Counsel, did the judge just say yes, sure? Dick is losing his mind. Dick is losing his mind. Counsel, you need to be able to object to the legal grounds of hearsay. It's not hearsay.
This is a matter that needs to be put on the record.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you go to the jury room.
Oh shit,
Please
oh
not
shit.
discuss the case.
He's doing this without the jury. The judge is about to chew on everyone's ass. The judge is so irritated. Dick is right on this one that the counsel cannot do what he just did. But here is the thing. Dick distracts from the evidence that's damaging to his case. And this witness has all of the damaging testimony, and Dick is losing his fucking mind about it. And that is why Dick is doing the cross-examination of this witness, so he can do dramatic shit like stand up and throw papers when he's frustrated about stuff. And the judge needs to yell at both of these attorneys to get them in order. But I want to see him excuse the witness, and I
Yes, sir. If everyone will be seated.
want to see the judge's face, not Blanca's. Blanca's, this isn't your fault, babe. This is the attorney's.
I objected to a conversation. We're aware of that conversation, but I objected knowing where he was going, which was, and in that same interview, by the way, that she gave about a statement where Maggie said that she was concerned about money, she also indicated Maggie was never concerned about money. Either way, it's hearsay. He said before Your Honor ruled, was she concerned about money?
He did say
or
that.
wasn't she concerned about money? He testified, which is to hearsay. I would move for mistrial. I think that's unduly prejudicial based on the last 3 weeks we've heard of financial misconduct. On
Dick
part
moves
of
for a
the defendant.
mistrial.
I would move for a mistrial. I would move that it's not a mistrial because I don't think, even if you give this jury an instruction, you can't unring the bell.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
You
God.
can't correct that. And now I've had to draw attention to it, even more so by objecting to it. He knew that was wrong.
And throwing your
Thank you, Your
papers.
Honor.
You also threw your papers like a dramatic
Meadows.
child.
And for the record, I apologize for that question. I don't have to say it. I'm
We're
sorry.
not here about apologies. Go ahead.
And I can't help it.
Yes, sir.
Judge, under 803, and what I should have brought to the court's attention first, 803.3, we think this would be admissible.
It is.
Hearsay exception.
It is an
Then
exception.
existing mental, emotional, or physical condition. The statement of the declarant's then existing state of mind, emotion, sensation,
but you
or
haven't
physical
said
condition.
when this
We think it
was.
fits under that rule, how she was.
Oh, we have a
That's all I
trial.
was going to listen.
We have a trial.
That's it. I wasn't going, and hearsay was coming out a little bit there. A lot of hearsays come out in this trial. They wasn't objected, it just was rolling. I wasn't trying to.
No, you
claim
don't get
that
to just
part of
ask
it.
about hearsay because nobody's objected.
But I do think respectfully it comes in there, we'd like you to consider under 803.3, Judge. And that's
Lawyer.
what I should have said before I asked the question. Again, for the record, say I'm sorry.
You're sorry doesn't help, but it is state of mind.
803.3,
But there's
the
no
following
date.
are not excluded by the hearsay rule, even though the declarant is available as a witness.
Declarant's unavailable. Declarant is dead.
A statement of the declarant's then existing state of mind, emotion, sensation, or physical condition, such as intent, plan, motive, design, mental feelings, pain, and bodily health,
A couple
but
months is not
including
enough.
a statement of memory
They
or
need
belief to prove the
closer.
fact remembered or
They need
believed,
to narrow down the date.
unless it
more.
relates to the execution, revocation, identification, or terms of declarant's will.
And declarant's unavailable because declarant is dead.
All right, Mr. Harpootlian?
Obviously, Your Honor, I don't think that's covered by 803.
Yeah, it is.
Why not?
Yeah,
Well,
why not?
because it's the declarant's, and maybe we need to ask her exactly what she said before you rule on that. The only testimony we've heard on that point is his.
We heard a question, then an objection, and then another question while the court was listening to your objection.
Yes,
Uh, So we'll have a proffer of this testimony and see where it's going.
Was Maggie Murdaugh anxious of anything?
Proffer.
Murder that she expressed?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Please tell the judge what it was.
She was worried because a lawsuit had been presented stating that they wanted $30 million. Maggie was crying. Maggie said, we don't have that kind of money, Blanca. And that's what she used to call me. She said, we don't have that. She said, if I could give them everything that I got and make this go away, she said, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Vote case.
I'm not, she said, I'll start over. We'll start over. She said, I just want it gone.
Vote case. Vote case.
This moment, we're listening to a proffer. Go ahead.
Would that be instead of that long, would that be like money issues that she was worried about?
The money issues dealing with the lawsuit.
And Your Honor, that's all I was going to offer her. I asked for money issues. I wasn't looking to even go in detail on what she said there.
You should get all of that in. That is all relevant. That is all highly relevant.
I don't quite understand how this fits into, first, the what you allowed in under 403.
Vote case, motherfucker. Vote case.
B, and raised Jessica. Right. It is her perception that the lawsuit, for $30 million, put
Maggie's
financial stress
perception.
on her.
Maggie.
There's not any, she's not relating that Alex has any stress on him. He's the one on trial. Her perception that the $30 million was concerning her.
She wanted to settle.
She's not accused, that is, Maggie Murdaugh is not the defendant here. There's no connecting it to the defendant. I don't understand not only is it hearsay, it's not relevant to the issues being litigated here. Her state of mind,
The murder victim's state of mind is relevant if they
financial
think
issues,
that her spouse did it.
How that relates.
Anything further?
No, sir.
And she knows about the money.
We've had testimony elicited by the defense throughout the trial from
Happy marriage.
witnesses
Everything's perfect.
portraying the family as a loving and happy marriage.
Yep.
Question posed to Mr. Gibson, I believe it was, and to the other friend of Paul's and Buster's, as to whether the family was anxious or seemed to have any concerns or issues going on.
Hello, defense. Meet
at
the door that
time.
you've opened.
And I find that this testimony properly responds to that testimony, and the objection is overruled.
Get into all of it. Counsel's, because of
Anything else?
Because of Dick's objection, More testimony is going to come in than
Right,
this attorney
let's
planned.
take a 1 minute stretch before the jury comes back.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Dick, you did it to yourself. Oh my God. Today has made up. We have waited 15 days to have a trial where shit was popping off. We have seen Dick throw his papers and bring attention to all of this. And the court has turned around and said, you have elicited all of this testimony, Dick. You have elicited all of this testimony. And this counteracts the testimony that this is a perfect, loving family. Maggie was afraid of the boat case, and this attorney was not ready to elicit all of it. And because of Dick's objection, and because Dick was, we need a mistrial, we ended up at a proffer, and this attorney can now ask more than I think he was going to because of Dick's response. So shortly in the month or two leading up to the murders, Maggie felt under pressure. Maggie was afraid of the boat case. Very, very interesting. And it also sounds like Maggie might have been ready to settle the boat case. We also heard that Maggie's car had been taken by SLED and searched for evidence. How did SLED not notice that her fucking wedding ring is in the car? How did they not notice? I mean, the coroner might notice and talk about it, but her wedding ring is in the vehicle. That's a whole different situation than what the defense is presenting. And Blanca has turned out to be the witness that is turning everything around in this case. So I am not surprised. For those of you in the chat, like, oh my God, Dick just moved right to a mistrial. I'm not surprised. Of course he did. He's like, this can't be unrung in front of the jury because the attorney was improper. The prosecutor stepped right the fuck in it and shouldn't have. What the prosecutor did is what these attorneys have been getting away with the entire trial. And the prosecutor, it's like when you don't yell at your kid for the same thing and then one day you yell at them and they're like, what the fuck? That's been fine. Like, that's always been fine. Why are you yelling at me about this now? That's how this attorney's acting. But Dick objected. Here's what happened. Dick objected, and as the court is waiting to rule on the objection, the attorney starts rephrasing his question and makes it worse. Because what the attorney said was Maggie worried about money? And that's when Dick threw his paper. But the jury's going to remember Dick's reaction, maybe more than the question. So if you're on this jury, you're coming back into this court on high fucking alert about what's going on. Because you just saw lawyers throwing papers in the courtroom. So, but this jury's going to walk back in like, oh, damn. And it sounds like Maggie wanted to settle the boat case. I have been very critical of the prosecution for the ordering of their witnesses. This ordering is fucking brilliant. The ordering of witnesses is brilliant because we saw the rage between Mark Tinsley and Alec Murdaugh. We saw that Mark Tinsley wanted to burn it down on the boat case. It is not hard for me to imagine that Alec was like,
Thank you.
fuck
The,
you,
last
I'm not
objection,
settling. And that
is
Maggie
overruled,
wanted to
and
settle.
You may proceed.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, we're back in court. We're back in court. We're back in
Simpson,
court.
in the days leading
We're
up
back in
to
court.
the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, based on your time with her, was Maggie Murdaugh anxious about anything?
She was concerned about the amount of money that they were requesting on that lawsuit. $30 million is what she told me.
Keep going.
You was marked 2-9.
Keep going.
Because of the question, there's an objection. The court overruled the objection. And do you want the witness to answer the question that you posed?
Yes, sir.
Well, you posed a separate question.
Yes, sir. And I thought she had answered. You said she was worried about 30 million. Can you explain that more?
That wasn't your question. That there was an objection to. Do you withdraw the question that you posed prior to the
He
court
doesn't
ruling
remember.
on the
Ask for it to be
objection?
read back, counsel.
Or you forgot the question?
Yes, he did. He
The world-
absolutely
yes,
forgot.
I'm sorry.
He absolutely forgot.
Proceed.
She
And that was Dick's goal.
What was she anxious about?
Dick's goal was to make him forget the question.
She said she knew the amount of money that they
Sweating.
were asking, but she felt that Alec was not being truthful to her with regard to what exactly was going on with that lawsuit. She said, he doesn't tell me everything.
Oh my God. That's more. Still, every time they keep asking more comes out. More. Counsel, what then? What did she say next? What did she say next? What did she say next? Just ask it. I'm going to fall off my fucking chair. Just ask it.
It was March State's 297. Excuse me, entered as 297.
Remember, Alec, I don't know why this is the attorney for this witness, but here we are.
Get it. Get back. Quit, Cash. Come on. Quit. It's okay. Come on. Come on, Cash. Come on. Cash. Hey, he got burgers now. Bubba. Hey, Bubba. It's a guinea. This is a chicken. Come here, Cash. Come on, Cash. Quit.
Ms. Blanca, had you seen that before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think maybe in prior statements or something that, had you said, do you recognize voices on there?
Yes, sir.
Who do you recognize?
It's Paul, Maggie, Alec.
And if previously, have you said in a memo or a memorandum interview that you thought you may have heard another voice?
Yes, sir, I
What?
did, at a distance.
But having listened to it again, have you listened to it this week?
Oh, there's
It's not
conflicting testimony.
on TV, have you seen it?
I have, there's only 3 voices, Alec, Maggie, and Paul.
So after hearing it several times, is that your conclusion?
Yes, sir.
She's got conflicting testimony. Interesting. That'll come up in cross.
Just a few more questions.
Yes, sir.
Counsel, I need to talk. Can you hurry it up?
Would Miss Maggie Murdaugh, did she go down to the kennels at night by herself?
No, sir.
And you say that emphatically. Why, do you know that?
She was scared. It got dark out there.
Real dark.
So would she go down there by herself?
No.
Did she like to go down there when it wasn't dark?
She did.
And did she like playing with the dogs?
She always took the dogs with her.
Which dogs were hers?
Grady and Bubba were always with her.
Okay. So when she was at Edisto, where would Grady and Bubba be?
She would, sometimes she would take both of them, but the majority of the time, in the last few months, she was alternating. She would take one or if not the other.
Because she's in the middle of a remodel. 2 dogs
Can you
seems like a
tell us
lot in a
about
remodel. That's
the
fair.
defendants? Did you ever see him with his cell phone? Alex Murdaugh, did you ever see him use his cell phone?
Counsel, calm down.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the jury his habits with the cell phone? Would he have it a lot? Did he use it a lot?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay.
He was always on his phone.
Say that again?
He was always on his phone.
Has she identified Alec in court yet? I don't think so.
Paul, were you familiar with his habits as regarding cell phones?
He better not forget.
The times that he was there at the house, he was always on his phone. If he'd go in the shower or whatever, he'd play his country music on the phone. But that's the extent that I know from what I observed being there in the house.
I mean, generally, not always country in
And
the
when
shower,
you were
but sometimes. but
on June 8th,
me,
and you've talked about it, and I'm not
always
trying to
on
rehash
the
that,
phone.
but on June 8th of 2021, when you went to clean up the house, is that pretty much what you saw in the bathroom, the pants and the damp towel?
Yes, sir, there was
2
a,
damp towels.
there was a rug right as you step out of the shower, and there was like a slight puddle of water, a towel, a white towel, and then a pair of khaki pants.
You didn't see any bloody clothes or anything like that?
No, sir.
If she identified him before the break,
It's just
I
a
might have
few
missed it
seconds,
because I was doing all the things, like I was having the most. Here's what she said that is going to be or should be a cornerstone of the closing argument. Maggie thought that Alec was lying to her and didn't tell her everything about what was going on financially with the boat case. That is a very big bit of testimony that actually starts to tie together the he's trying to cover his tracks motive that the state is going with, because we now have somebody saying Maggie knew that she was being lied to. And that cannot be understated. They moved through it quickly, but that
Is the individual in
is
states?
huge testimony. Huge testimony. Woo!
Is that individual in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would you please, is it Alex Murdaugh sitting between Mr. Harpoon?
Sitting
and
right
Mr.
there. Yes, sir.
And the record is reflecting. Thank you.
They
Judge.
identified him. Good job,
Have you
counsel.
ever seen that shirt again?
No, sir, not to.
They're showing the
not
tree
to my
video.
knowledge.
The clothes he was wearing in the tree video, she never saw the shirt and shoes again.
Have you ever seen
Never
these
saw the
shoes
pants.
again that he's wearing here?
No, sir.
Clothes are gone, guns are gone, wedding ring is gone. He asks her to lie about the shirt he's wearing. He asks Shelley Smith to lie about the amount of time he's at the mom's house.
Sperry shoes, have you ever seen those again?
No, sir.
That's all, thank you.
Good. Dick, I will lose my fucking mind if you are an asshole to this woman. I know it's your job, but you can do your job without being a dickhead. I know. I wasn't name calling him. I'm saying he can do it without being that way. I know.
And my name's Dick Harpuglia, and I represent the man you know as Alex.
I know who you are, Dick.
Yes, sir, I met you before.
I don't think we've ever met before, have we?
Yes, we did.
We've met?
Yes, sir, at the house. Maggie's funeral.
Oh, at Maggie's funeral, yes. I apologize.
Get it,
A lot
Blanca.
of people there that day.
Yes, sir.
She's not afraid of you, Dick. You
Alex
probably
has
looked over
always
her.
referred to you when people ask who
Uh-huh.
you are as
Of
his
course you
friend,
did.
correct?
That is correct.
Never called you his housekeeper, right?
That is correct.
He always, when he introduced you as his friend.
That is correct.
Now,
Is
you've
Dick trying to
also, I
remind
think,
her
in
whose
multiple
friend
interviews
she
with,
is?
Sweat and other folks described, I think the words were, Maggie was his all.
Whose friend are you,
Isn't that what
Blanca?
you told Sweat?
Yes, sir.
What does that mean, Maggie was his all?
He adored her. He loved her. He adored her.
Worshipped her? I mean, just treated her as
Treated her with
somebody he adored,
respect. He wouldn't
correct?
have lied to her.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Now, I think they also asked you if you ever saw them have any arguments, and
No, I did not ask that. Objection.
Outside the
Restate the question, please.
outside the scope of direct?
Sweat asked you if you'd ever seen them have any arguments. I don't quite understand the basic objection, Your Honor.
Restated the question, you may respond.
What was the question again, sir?
Did you ever see them have any arguments?
I never saw them have arguments. It was just minor disagreement because of the remodeling.
And I think you cite specifically, when you said they had arguments, it was about the paint colors, for instance.
Just because you don't
One
see
of
my
them
husband
was
and I
Maggie
argue
was
doesn't
set
mean we
on
don't.
getting a certain white, and Alec was saying, just get whatever white, basically. You know, he didn't care. She wanted a specific white, and he just didn't.
There are
You never saw them have
900,000
any
different
violent
colors of white.
arguments Or argue about money, or argue about relationships. It was all the minor things that most couples go through, picking paint colors and those kinds of things. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, to some, they would disagree on, it wasn't that they disagreed. The only thing that I remember Maggie saying was that she just wanted him to sit still and listen to her for at least 10 minutes at a time, because he was always on the go.
Is that an uncommon complaint between husbands and wives? or
Objection
wives and
calls for
husbands?
speculation.
I want you to just listen to me. Is that right?
She would get frustrated because of that.
Right. You
Did
ever
anyone
tell your husband
diagnose
that? Just
Alec with
listen to me.
ADHD?
Sit, please.
All the time.
I feel like
Okay.
we're missing a piece of the story.
So, let me talk a little bit about the
She wanted him to sit
morning
still
of
and
the
listen.
7th,
Yes, sir.
and then the morning of the 8th, because I understand you left before Paul, Maggie, or Alec was on the Moselle property on the 7th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're going to talk about those texts in just a minute between you and Maggie, but you fixed
Also-
some dinner for them.
I did.
And did you set a table, or did they have to go get their own plates and put them out?
No, I left the food on the stove.
Right.
I don't know why the closed captioning aren't working.
Normally, the next day, the pots would still be on the stove, right?
Yes, sir.
Would they clean up their plates or leave those in the sink, or how would that go?
Sometimes the plates would be in the living room. There was no plates in the living room. They were in the sink.
Okay, but when you got there on the morning of the 8th? they
The
were-
plates were in the sink. They were not in the living room.
Okay, now,
That's
are you aware of
cross-examination.
how many people were in
This is
there?
cross-examination.
How many friends?
So that's
law
why it
partners,
sounds like he's
his
putting words in her
sister,
mouth. That's
who
the
was
art
in
of cross.
the Moselle house on the night of the 7th?
No, sir.
Okay, if I told you there were 12 to 15 of them, would that surprise you? I mean, Maggie and Paul had just been killed. Was he very close with his law partners?
Objection compound.
Okay.
What
His
question
sister,
are you
Lynn?
asking, Dick?
You know Lynn?
Pick
I
one.
don't, I met her at Maggie's, when Maggie passed.
Okay. And would it surprise you to know that the,
Your Honor, I'm going to object.
Compound.
ask her if she knows, Your Honor.
Well, the objection is sustained. He cannot testify.
I'll make it more general than this. Do you know if anyone that evening, of those people, moved the food from the stovetop to the refrigerator?
Right. No foundation. She doesn't know.
I don't know.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about
Could have been.
the room, the bedroom, and, well, let me ask you this. Let's back off just a little bit.
I hate the way
You
he
drove
questions.
over from his mother and father's house, correct?
Maybe he'll
That
ask
is
what
correct.
time.
That morning, the 8th, to Moselle.
What time? Just ask her what time.
Yes,
we
sir.
just don't
And
know.
instead of coming in your normal way, which would have been the entrance by the kennels, where there, did you see all the police down there?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. You drove up to the main entrance that would go straight up to the house, or if you took a right on that road, you'd end up back down at the kennels, right?
Yes, sir.
And you came up that, were there police around the house up there?
Not around the house.
Okay. Did anyone question whether you should go into the house or not?
No, sir.
Was there anybody in the house other than you?
No, sir, it was me.
So did you find it strange that this was a crime scene? and that-
Objection.
Need to hear the question.
I'm sorry.
Calls
the
for
question
facts,
would
not
be,
in evidence.
Did you find it strange there was no law enforcement present at the house that morning?
That's not what he was asking.
Question.
Go ahead.
He rephrased it.
It wasn't strange because there was law enforcement all over on the kennel side. It wasn't strange that they allowed me to go into the house.
Well, let me ask you this. Did anybody from SLED show up while you were there that morning?
Good question.
I believe there was an officer. I do not recall the officers.
Do you remember somebody coming in to search the house
Let
while
her
you were there?
finish.
There were several agents that came through.
Right, but you'd been there for a while before they got there?
Yes, sir.
Did they ask you about clothes you'd found, or did they ask you about anything that you found out of the ordinary, anything like that?
That's
I didn't
compound.
ask any questions. They didn't ask me. They just went about doing what they were doing.
And were they going from room to room? Were they looking for things under the bed? Do you remember?
It appeared that that's what they were doing, sir.
Okay, but that was after you got there and picked up the bathroom, picked up the
The prosecution
towel.
didn't make
No,
that
sir.
clear.
I hadn't picked up anything at that point because I was still in shock and I was still trying to process what had just happened to my friend.
So they would have seen the khaki pants on the floor.
Objection.
Calls for
Did they
speculation.
go into the bathroom?
I couldn't tell you, sir. The laundry room sits on the other side of the house, and I had to take some time to process what had happened to Maggie and Paul. I know I saw agents that went upstairs to Paul's room. I saw them walking through the house, sir, but I don't know what they took, what they didn't took. All I can tell you is what I saw when I got there.
That's right, Blanca.
After, while they're there or after they left, is that when you went into the bathroom and saw the khaki pants, somebody taking a shower, there was a towel on the
She
floor?
didn't say that.
Khaki pants on the floor. Was that before or after they left?
All compound, Dick, but okay.
Yeah, after.
Okay. So all those items would have been there for those folks to see, as far as you know.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Dick, didn't you argue that SLED did a sloppy investigation?
Now, let me ask you.
Isn't
a
that your
couple things
argument? Isn't that the
and
whole purpose
about
of your
what you
argument?
saw.
We all agree with you now.
They keep showing you this picture by the tree of Alex. And
video,
he appears
Dick.
to have on a khaki pair of pants in that picture, correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Dick's allowed to lead its cross-examination.
I'm sure he had a number of
For those
different
of you
pairs of
asking,
khaki
he is.
pants. But were those khaki pants similar to the ones he has on in the picture? Could they be the same ones?
They could be, but he had several.
Right. And in terms of somebody had taken a shower, it looked like there was water on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Now, did Alex take a number of showers every day? Was he a prolific shower taker?
Not that I'm aware. He would get up in the morning, take a shower, and go to work.
I mean,
But
it's the
did he
South in
take
the summer. I
showers
take
other
two.
times during the day?
I wasn't there in the evening hours, so I don't know.
Okay.
It's the
So,
South
but
in
it
the summer.
wasn't unusual for, when you got there, to find a towel on the floor and water on the floor from him having taken a shower?
That wasn't unusual, no.
Okay.
So did he
And,
regularly leave his
I
towels on the
think
floor, Blanca?
That when
Is
you
he
were
that
asked
guy?
about a shirt, and we can pull this if you want to go back to, whether there was a shirt there also, you said you couldn't remember. Is that correct?
With regard to,
Whether there was a shirt with the khakis on the floor. You said, I couldn't remember.
I could not remember whether there was a shirt with a khaki pants. All I remember is a white damp towel sitting there.
Okay, and the khaki pants.
Yes, sir.
But you don't remember whether, and I think you told the grand jury, I don't remember whether it was a shirt or wasn't a shirt, correct?
That is correct.
And that's today. You can't tell this jury there wasn't a shirt on the floor. You just can't, you can tell them you don't remember, correct?
What was your question?
You can't tell this jury there wasn't a shirt on the floor because you can't remember whether there was a shirt on the floor or not. Isn't that what you told the grand jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we know there's a pair of khaki pants.
That
There
was
may have been a
compound.
shirt. And those shoes,
It's so
well, let
compound.
me ask you this. Do you know
Let me ask you this.
On the night of
Let
the
me ask
7th.
you this. Let
Yes,
me ask
sir.
you this.
Alec had left, correct? He wasn't there when you got there the next morning.
No, sir, he wasn't there.
Okay. And matter of fact, he never spent another night at Moselle that
No,
you
sir, he did not.
She knows, Your Honor.
What's the objection? What are the legal grounds for the objection?
You can answer if you know whether or not he's ever spent another night there.
She was the
After the murders,
groundskeeper.
did he ever spend another night at Moselle, to your knowledge?
He did not.
So when he
She
left
knew
that
'cause
night,
she
on the
became
night
the
of
property
7th,
manager,
and went
is what I
to
meant.
his mother and father's house, you don't know what clothes he took with him, what shoes he was wearing? You have no idea, correct?
That is correct.
And
She knows what she saw.
Were you aware that SWED had confiscated the clothes that he had on?
At that moment, I didn't.
It's assuming those are the
Well, you
clothes
are
he had
now.
on.
Yes, sir, I do know now.
Okay, a white T-shirt, pair of shorts that he showed you, and whatever shoes he had on, some sneakers, right?
I didn't see the sneakers, but I saw the clothing items.
Okay. And so he had to put on, if they did that, other clothes to go over to his mother's house, correct?
Objection.
Would it stand to reason he'd have to put on other clothes or go in his underwear?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. Do you know what he wore over to his mother's house?
No, sir.
Do you know whether he wore those shoes?
No, sir.
You don't know. So
Your
when,
Honor, objection to,
To what?
objection
Basis for the objection.
I
To
don't
which
know.
question?
to that last one, shoes. I don't know what specificity he says to those shoes.
What
I
are the
don't
legal
I'm sorry,
grounds?
the shoes that
Objection
you say
vague.
you saw in the
Compound means
Snapchat
more than
photo,
one question.
you say you never saw again, right?
That is correct.
Okay, you don't know
Compound
whether he wore those shoes the night of the 7th over to his mama's house, do you?
I don't know that. I wasn't
Okay.
there.
You don't know
Compound means
what
too
he
many.
wore over there, correct?
That's correct. I wasn't there.
He may have even worn that shirt that you said you never saw again, correct?
Objection.
Objection's overruled.
Right?
He needs to say the
Correct.
grounds for
Okay.
the objection.
Now,
Grounds, counsel. Have we learned nothing? grounds for the objection, the legal grounds, objection, and
If
then
somebody-
the legal grounds, objection, hearsay, objection,
Alleged
speculation, objection,
That
leading.
those khaki pants what Alex was wearing the night of
I'm
the...
going to object.
Let him
Need to
finish
hear
the
the
question.
I can't finish the question, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Let me state this. If somebody were to say that Alec Murdaugh, as ridiculous as it sounds, was wearing those khaki pants when he...
Objection.
Let him
Objection sustained.
Okay.
finish.
Let me put it this way. Did you see any blood on those khaki pants?
That you washed?
He washed them, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you put anything on them to get blood stains out? I mean, would there be...
Are you been saying that I removed bloodstains off of khaki pants?
I'm asking you rhetorically. I'm asking you...
It's rhetorical that it's not a
Did you see any
question.
blood stains?
There appear to be no bloodstains on those pants.
Okay. And in the bathroom, did you see any bloody footprints?
I did not.
Did you see any blood on that towel?
No, sir.
Did you see anything indicating to you there'd been anybody wearing bloody shoes or washing blood off, or anything that would indicate that somebody, after a murder, had gone back to that
Please,
room?
look at him arguing
changed
to the jury.
clothes,
Look at him.
Covered in blood, took a shower and changed
Objection.
clothes.
Compound.
Did you see anything that would indicate that?
Compound.
Objection's overruled.
Go ahead.
This is the first time that I have ever been in a situation where somebody was murdered.
Right.
I didn't know, as far as what you're asking me, if there was anything bloody in there. No, it did not appear to be anything bloody in there.
Did you clean the
I don't
shower
know.
that day?
Yes, sir, I rinsed it off.
You rinsed it off. Nobody told you not to rinse off the shower?
No, sir.
Okay. And again, nobody from SWED, as that group went through, asked you, did you see bloody footprints? Did you see any evidence that there was anything bloody in
Oh,
that
Dick, she would have told
that
you if she
bathroom?
did.
Did anybody ask you that?
No, sir.
And your testimony is those khaki pants were there after SWED left,
Yes, sir.
and maybe even a shirt you can't remember.
Yes, sir, possibly a T-shirt, but I did not see it. I don't remember.
Okay, you don't remember what kind of shirt, if there was a shirt.
Not objection.
The objection
Assumes facts, not
is
in evidence.
overruled.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Did you see him just
Do you
give that look to
remember-
counsel? Dick's getting pissed.
And I'm doing
This
like
is,
Mr. Meadows now, I forgot the question. But let me see if I can get this back on
Dick, you
track.
don't like it when
These
people do that to
interruptions
you,
are
huh?
Getting me a little askew.
This interruption is getting me skewed. Now he's just
So,
commentating, which is also improper. He doesn't like it when people do it to him. He does it all the time.
Ashton answered that.
And it rattled him. Look, it
Now,
rattled
let's talk a
him.
little bit about, let me talk a little bit about the cell phone service. in the
We're got
hotel.
spicy
You had a
today.
cell phone?
Yes, sir.
And the servicer was who? What was it, Verizon? Or do you know?
The cell phone carrier is Verizon, yes, sir.
Okay. And so, did you ever have any trouble getting a signal anywhere on the Moselle property? Up at the house, down at the dog kennels? Was it sporadic?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. And sometimes you'd be talking to somebody and they'd drop off, or the call would end, not because you ended it, because the service was bad.
Yes, sir, you were moving around in the house, certain areas, you could not get a signal.
What about down from the kennels?
It was touch and go in the kennels. You really, once you got signal, you better stay where you were at, because if you moved, you were going to lose your signal.
Fair.
Okay.
Lawyering is a sport, and I am
So
here to be your
not
court
unusual
caster
at the kennels, if
and
you
color
did move,
commentator.
that if you were having a conversation or getting text or trying to answer a text, you wouldn't be able to do so.
Like I said, it depends on where you kind of knew the areas. At least for me, I already knew that if I had to make a call or send a text, I would walk out the kitchen door straight to the edge of the corner right there on the porch and make my call and not move. If not, I would lose the call, or I would not be able to make my call.
What about at the kennels?
At the kennels, like I said, it depends on the area where you were at. And once, basically everybody, we all kind of knew that if you moved out of a certain area and went to another, you were going to lose signal.
Okay. Now,
These are
at the
good
kennel, do you know
questions
what
from the
area you could get a
defense.
call? Keep that, I mean, was there, you just talked about up at the house, there was a sweet spot, if you'll
Yes, sir.
Pardon my language. Was there a sweet spot down at the kennel, or do you know?
I'm not sure at the kennels, but I do remember Mr. CB saying that the signal out there was horrible for making calls or getting calls.
These are good
Sending
questions
texts or
for
getting
the
texts.
defense.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Now,
Because it makes it look like maybe Alec didn't turn his phone off, but he
Let
said
me-
he wasn't
let
at
me
the
talk to
kennel,
you a
so it
little
doesn't
bit
help
about-
that much, but it does help.
this conversation in
And it's
August
consistent with what Rogan said.
of 21, after the murders,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Alec came over and was inquiring of you what shirt he had on that day, correct?
It didn't feel like he was inquiring. It felt more like he was trying to convince me of the shirt that he was wearing.
Oh, shit.
He tell you that he just finished?
Objection.
I'm sorry, I'm just asking if he told you something.
Objection.
Cross-examination.
Your Honor, objecting to hearsay for the record.
It's
I
the
need to hear
counsel.
question.
It's a statement by a
number
party
one.
opponent.
Number two is cross-examination. Go ahead.
Did he tell you that he just finished
Objection.
meeting? Do you want me to pose the question, Your Honor, or not?
All right. I'm going to send the jury to the jury room.
Oh, shit.
Please do not discuss the case.
The Blanca just looked at the jury, and the jury probably looked at her and was like, fuck. These, I think, are improper prosecution objections, and I think the judge is going to chew on this prosecutor for doing it. Unless they think the defense is eliciting a statement that was never said. But the defense is trying to elicit a statement by their client. And I want to see what the prosecutor argues, because these are not statements of a party opponent. So when I said that earlier, I was completely wrong. These are not statements of a party opponent when they're elicited
Be seated.
by the defense. So we will
Okay,
see the
what
legal
is the
arguments here.
question?
Dick is getting snappy with everybody.
Just wait 1 second, Your Honor. Let me see if I can get back on track. When you were talking with him
We
in
need to
the
see the
Little
judge.
House in August, as we were talking about a moment ago, and he was talking about the shirt, did he tell you that he had just been interviewed by Swed, who'd shown him the Snapchat photo,
Video.
and he was attempting to figure out what he was wearing that day? I mean, it's in a photo.
Video.
Did he tell you that?
What's the specific
The
question?
legal grounds.
Did he, when he asked you the question about the shirt, did he tell you he just come from being interviewed by Swed?
No, sir, he didn't tell me that.
And what is the objection?
That's why there's
Your
the
Honor,
objections.
Respectfully, it's hearsay. Statement.
It's not hearsay.
That if he wants to do that, he can take the stand and do it. He's trying to offer the defendant's
Yes,
statement.
yes, there,
Without him taking the
yes.
stand. It's offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
And it's
That's my
not
objection.
a party opponent.
In response.
And she's,
My response is, if you can't ask witnesses about what the defendant said to them, you're going to have a rough road to hoe going forward.
Are you
because,
threatening them?
It's a statement by the party.
by the party, not a party
If you
opponent.
will. I think they argued earlier on when we objected to one.
No.
It's not hearsay. There's an exception to hearsay.
He's not a
By
party
statement
opponent when
by
you're
the-
asking the questions. Dickie's your client.
By the party opponent, being a statement by the party
Opponent
the defendant.
Mr. Murdaugh's statement to this woman.
is hearsay when you're eliciting it, not when he's eliciting it. Because you're the defense. If he wants to say he was just interviewed by SLED, but they're missing the point.
This matters, I've been doing this 35 years, he's on trial.
We know that.
But I'm just saying, it's not a party opponent. He's
Yes.
trying to get in a statement from the defendant.
Yes.
Statements against interests, that the state, there is a difference between the state asking what the defendant said and the defense.
Yes.
And if they hadn't objected to something they thought, that's their prerogative, but they're trying to offer the defendant's statement in evidence without him taking the stand, and it,
Can't do that.
I respectfully think that's objectable as hearsay. He's the defendant on trial. They're offering it for the self-serving hearsay. They're offering it for the truth of the matter asserted, and I respectfully think that he's got to take the stand and get that information in.
Also, she said, no, he never said that to me. Also, she said he never said that to me. Also,
Did he tell you about talking to Swed that day?
No, sir, he did not.
yes, no foundation. You can't ask the question.
Who allows us to ask the question and not the defense?
You're missing the point, counsel. Listen to what she said.
He didn't say anything to her about Swed.
Listen to what she just said.
Your Honor, he could get his whole case through witnesses and he wouldn't have to take the stand.
Absolutely.
And that's
No,
not
you
a
can't.
First Amendment right.
No, sir.
No, it's not.
That's right, but you can't.
I don't think Britain will let you all debate the issue between the two.
I apologize,
How
Your
rude
Honor.
I get that.
All right.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! The court just walked off. The court just walked off. He's like, children, figure out whose ball you're playing with today. And he walked off the bench. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my, oh my God. Oh my God. The court just walked off the fucking bench. He should have. I love this. I'm here for the judge's energy is, y'all measure your dicks when I'm out of the courtroom. That's the energy the court's bringing. I am not composed. I have no fucking chill right now. I have lost my mind. Okay. Y'all, I'm sorry to do this to you. When I asked for the bigger coffee today, I didn't realize it was going to be the size of my head. So here's what we're dealing with. I'm going to swoop and we are going to talk about what the fuck just happened. Because, oh my God. Okay. For those of you that are new to my channel, hi, I'm Emily D. Baker. I'm a former prosecutor, legal commentator. I've been very critical of this prosecution team. And today has popped the fuck off. I can't go code red because I'm not at home because I'm going to a concert tonight. I am going to be completely adrenalined out by the time I get there. This case has actually become a trial in the last 2 hours. We now have a trial together. I don't know if the court broke for lunch, but they might have because they normally break for lunch at 1, but it's noon on the East. Yo. Okay, let's break down what they were arguing, and then I'm going to break down everything I have to say. Okay, y'all, you're right. Let's go to code red. I can't make the lights red, but today has popped off. Like, we are at what the fuck levels. The judge walked off the bench. This is flashy. I can't actually make it red, but for those of you that are flash sensitive, once the music ends, it'll stop. But we are technically in our hearts at DEFCON red. Because what we learned is that Dick Harpootlian doesn't know hearsay objections. And here's the thing, I misstated it at the beginning because I was literally dying and my brain was moving too fast, which happens. Here's what's going on. When you are offering the statement of a party opponent, they have to be the opponent. Opponent means other side. The defense cannot elicit statements of the defendant from witnesses because that is their own statement, not the statement of the party opponent. And that is what the prosecution is arguing. But I think they have two grounds, and they have proper grounds for this that they did not state. Here's the grounds that they did not state that they should have, because they weren't listening to her answer, which is not a criticism on them in this moment, because everyone at that courtroom is doing exactly what my brain's doing, and all the lawyers are on like adrenaline high, and so sometimes you get laser focused. And that's why they were starting to argue in court. You can just ask your client to testify then. Put him on the stand if he wants to elicit that. Because here's what went wrong for the defense. They are trying to elicit that the defendant had just interviewed with SLED. And Dick argued earlier about a mistrial because he said you can't unring the bell, which is court appropriate speak for you can't put the shit back in the horse. Once the jury has heard it, it doesn't matter how many times the judge says, please disregard. Can you imagine the judge being like, please disregard, and you're like, I heard that shit though. It's like, okay, it's in the back of my mind. I'm trying to disregard it, but it is in the back of your mind. So you can't unring the bell, which is why Dick asked for a mistrial earlier today. Blanca is clearly the prosecution's key witness because you have seen Dick ask for a mistrial, throw papers, wander around the court, stand up and object and start screaming at counsel to try to throw him off his game. And maybe this is why they picked my cousin Vinny, because my cousin Vinny's like, I've been doing this for 35 years, Dick, come at me, bro. Maybe it was just the Dick measuring energy that they needed in this courtroom today, and that's why they're having my cousin Vinny do this. But here's what they missed. Dick is trying to say, and this is why the prosecutor wouldn't let him finish the question, and I understand more now because the prosecutor knew exactly where Dick was going, and we don't because we're not in that courtroom, and I don't have the case file. Dick was going to say, didn't he tell you he interviewed with Sled earlier that day? And once the jury hears it, even if it's improper, even if the objection is sustained, the jury has heard it, and they have put it in their mind, oh, maybe. Blanca said no. He never told me that. But you're trying to elicit an answer to a question, introducing your client's own statement, and they cannot introduce their client's own statement. And so everybody's going to have their evidence codes open. And Dick, did you see Dick turn around and try to threaten the prosecutor? In a very like HOA energy kind of way. It was, well, if we can't introduce statements of the defendant, then I don't know what they think they're doing, paraphrasing, because we've got a long way to go. But the thing is, statement of a party opponent is an exception to the hearsay rule. So that's what's happening. That's what's happening. They are going to be arguing, God damn it, the day I leave my federal rules of evidence at home, I should get the app. When I was in court every day, I had the app. I need to get the app. It's HOA energy. It's like, well, if you don't like my fencing, what happens when you want a pool? I mean, maybe we just want to prove that either. That's Dick's energy in court today. That was Dick's energy in court today. Well, if they're going to object to this, then I'm going to object to that. It was awful. It was awful. But today has popped off, and we know how much Dick is worried about this witness. Today's been crazy. The statement was ridiculous. But we see that they're arguing, and this is what Dick does. He tries to distract. He throws his paper. Look, Dick is an effective defense attorney, even if the jury finds him offensive. He said it in opening. Don't hold it against my client. Hold it against me if you don't like me. I mean, I've been annoyed with Dick since he started asking female witnesses if they just herked evidence into a bag like it was a can of pork and beans and asked another agent what was so special about being a special agent. Dick has annoyed me since the beginning of this trial. He's giving Elaine energy. But the bumbling is an act. But Dick has a very specific style to throw the prosecutor off course so they won't get back to their question. Blanca, as a witness, is former Navy and worked in the prisons. So Dick is not going to get to her at all. She has no time for his fucking energy. And when Dick was like, it's night, we haven't met, she's like, we met at the funeral. Dick is trying to charm himself to the jury like, hi, I'm Dick Harpootli. And she's like, she looked at him with the I know who the fuck you are face. And of course Dick doesn't remember. He's like, oh, there were a lot of people there that day. She's like, This is a jury full of women. This is a jury full of women just being like, we've got your number, Dick. Okay, we are just. Blanca has dropped all of the bombs in testimony. We still have an hour to go before lunch, and I don't know when the court's going to come back out and if these attorneys are going to stop fighting. He walked out on them. He walked out. He was like, y'all keep fighting, bye. It was wild. So we will see if, I just saw the chat saying it speaks to Blanca's memory. Oh yeah, she knows. Blanca knows. And though people might not see her, she sees them. And that's the thing, isn't it? That is the thing, isn't it? Alec Murdaugh, from my personal opinion watching this trial, Alec Murdaugh did not see Jeannie Seconder coming for him. He did not think his legal secretary paralegal was going to have the audacity, I say it in quotes, to call him out on the money being missing. And I don't think they even thought about Blanca, but they thought about her enough. They thought about Shelley Smith enough, because she said at the beginning of her testimony with Dick, it didn't feel like he was asking me, it felt like he was telling me. So that is two women who worked with the Murdaugh family, who Alec tried to persuade to say something else. And that plus everything else becomes very damning testimony for me today. There are still questions in this case. There are still holes in this case, but the cover-up is going to speak real loud. It's going to speak real loud. Question, is this lunch or just a little break? Fuck if I know. The court didn't say. The court said, y'all figure it out, and walked off the bench. I don't know. Yeah, I've been in court when judges have done that. It's normally when counsel's being ridiculous, and sometimes counsel gets ridiculous. Things get heated in a trial, and this is a long trial, and they are all tired. But I've also done that too. I've also just walked out and said, I'll come back when everybody decides to be reasonable. Completely inappropriate on my behalf, but I've done it. I'm not going to say I haven't. She never got taken into custody, though. I had colleagues who almost got taken into custody for shenanigans. Well, not shenanigans, for arguing back with the court. I don't think it's shenanigans when it's justified, but anyway. Court stories for another day. She gives the impression that she thinks Alec killed them. I think the sense I got from Blanca was that she is not pleased he asked her to change what she remembered. And we heard at the beginning, she said, look, it was honest work. That's why I wanted to do it. You get a sense of her values: hard work, honesty, take care of the people you're taking care of, and take care of other people. You got this from the beginning of her testimony. Take care of other people. So him coming to her and trying to modify what she was going to say did not sit well with her. So I got the sense that she's offended. So I don't know if she thinks he did it, but she definitely knew that something wasn't right. Did we all remember her husband's law enforcement? So, can the judge's temper fit be a reason for appeal? The judge didn't have a temper fit. The judge walked off while the attorneys were literally going to blows in the play yard. They weren't actually, for anyone just listening in, the attorneys weren't actually going to blows in the courtroom. But they were having a moment together, and the judge walked off. I don't think it was temper. It was y'all sorted out. This judge is so fucking over these attorneys right now. It's kind of funny to see. I'm now convinced he's guilty. Also, judge said he'll give us a ruling when he gets back. The judge was like, y'all figure it out. Question, do you think if the defense is using her to try to get more testimony for him, if that is their plan for all the witnesses? Oh no, that's absolutely the defense's plan for the witnesses. The defense doesn't plan to have Alec Murdaugh testify at this point. They plan to elicit as much as they can. And the prosecution, everybody's been asleep at the wheel on this thing. And today with this witness, everybody is fighting it out, which tells the jury that this is the most important testimony of the entire trial. Does it tell you? What do you guys think? Let's put up a poll, Miguelina. Does this feel like the most important testimony we've had in this trial so far, yes or no? Because you see the way the attorneys are reacting. Oh, they all know how to object. We might have forgotten that they do. They all know how to object. They just haven't until today. And the thing is, if you're not objecting consistently, do you know what it shows to the jury? That this is worth fighting over and that this is worth paying attention to, which means everything that has happened for the last 15 fucking days, the jury is like, who's she? And they are looking at Blanca going, girl, tell us more. This is a mostly female jury. And I can understand why, because the key witnesses in this case, for the most part, have been women. And from my perspective, women that might have been underestimated by the all-boys club, which sometimes is our favorite position to be in. So it's very, very interesting. And this is why even when these trials make us feel like we are aging in fucking dog years, we still watch them, because today is a trial day. Today, everybody came to play. Today, we are in it. Wow. Lucinda, Dick just said so. Prosecutor said otherwise. They can't put all this on, well, case and client statements in without testifying. And Dick said exactly. I don't remember that, Lucinda. I'm going to have to go back. I was losing my mind. You saw me basically jumping up and down. Is she still having to sit on the stand right now? No, the court took a break, so she's probably gotten down from the stand to go sit down. The other important testimony, I told you the four that I thought were important. The other kind of critical testimony was Rogan Gibson and tying in the videos. But Paul's videos, more and more, are the key to this case. So, Let's see. The tea is what I have been waiting for. Yeah, this tea is what I've been waiting for. Judge is the boss. Thank you for covering it. I'm dying at work trying to keep calm. Yes, please, for all of you that are trying to not scream while I scream or that are annoyed with me screaming, I get it. I just can't. I'm dying. So I am just being your voice if you're at work with your headphones in trying to not lose your mind over this. I get it. How is this simultaneously the best and worst trial ever? Yeah, today it really is all the things. Blanca is the boss, and the women in this case have been freaking phenomenal. Absolutely have. Absolutely have. EDB, you're going to need a nap before the Dave concert. Oh, there's absolutely no time for that. It doesn't matter. The adrenaline will carry me through till I get home sometime tomorrow. It's fine. We're just not, we don't sleep for the last few days. It's fine. The adrenaline will just carry me through. It's like it feels like being in trial today myself because I'm just like, I want to argue with Dick because I've had those arguments with attorneys and it's fun. And I don't miss being in the courtroom because I get to do this. Question, do you think if the defense is using her to try to get more testimony on, that is their job. That is absolutely the defense's job. So for those of you that are like, but Dick's leading, on cross-examination, you can. We have not seen the witness control that we saw in Depp v. Heard. But here is the difference to remember, because some of that is not on the lawyers. Some of it is. Some of it is. But here's the thing. In the civil case, the lawyers have done depositions. They have sat across from these witnesses. They had a previous trial. They had transcripts on transcripts on transcripts. These attorneys have not had that opportunity. These attorneys in criminal cases might have had interviews and stuff, but they don't have prior testimony. And so these attorneys do not have the opportunity to do that. So they don't have the chance to kind of get used to how these witnesses will be in a sworn adversarial setting. So it's a very different thing than in a civil case, and it's very interesting to watch. If you're not in the club, you don't have to play by the rules. I mean, it's a new motto of this channel. We're just taking it on. The law nerds have been like, yeah, we've kind of narrowed that down. So I saw a number of you asking if we have a club. We do have a club. We have the Law Nerd Club. All are welcome. All law nerds are welcome, but it is definitely a thing. That's what the channel is about. There's always room at our table, unless you're a dick. But don't be a dick has been a motto since well before this trial. It has nothing to do with Dick Harpootlian specifically. Question, if there's no signal at the kennel, why would Alec rely on calling and texting Maggie when he left instead of just stopping there on the way out? Winnie S., this is a fantastic point that you make that hopefully the prosecution will make. And if Maggie always answered the phone and he always answered the phone for her and they're worried because Paul's getting threats, why wouldn't he go up past the kennel? Why wouldn't he? It's a very, very good point. So I saw questions, about the grand jury. Somebody said grand jury depositions. Grand juries don't have depositions. So for the grand jury process, the defense is not present. They get the transcripts, but the defense doesn't get the live witnesses, only the prosecution. And the prosecution does ask questions like they're at a grand jury because they lead so much. But with witnesses like Blanca and like Shelley Smith, they needed to allow the witness to speak, not the attorneys. On cross-examination, the attorneys really want their questions to stick out in the mind of the jury. But on direct examination, you need the witness to shine, not the lawyer. The question should just be a guide to help the witness get their story out so it's not a narrative. It's not about the lawyer on direct. It's about the witness. And sometimes these lawyers forget it. Question, if the single was splotchy, wouldn't that also prove he called 911 on his way home confirming the car software guy? Maybe, but he sure didn't. It seems like he didn't have a problem getting through to 911 because there weren't missed calls with that. Let's go and continue. I'm shocked that we're still on break. Truly shocked. Amanda Taylor said, I was a housekeeper in a hospital for years. People don't notice the quote unquote help that makes us the best witnesses. Facts. Facts. It's interesting because when they're arguing about you never saw Paul and Maggie argue, it also sounds like from Blanca's testimony, Maggie's biggest beef was that that Alec wouldn't sit down and talk to her for 10 minutes. Like, just sit still and talk to me. Always on the move, always on the phone, always doing something. It might just have been that she stopped fighting with him because she could never get him to sit down and listen. So there was no point in fighting because she just gave up. Sometimes the sign of a healthy marriage is not the lack of fighting. Sometimes the fact that there's no fighting doesn't mean the marriage was happy. It could just mean that she stopped trying to make him hear her. So that goes both ways. I don't expect the attorneys to argue that at any point, but her wedding ring was in the car. And the argument is going to be the wedding ring is in the car. She's worried about money. She wants the boat case to just move on. And Alec, we now have missing guns, missing clothes. He's tried to influence the testimony of 2 witnesses. And he lied about the timeline. This case is definitely changed quite a bit. What do you make of the wedding ring under the seat in Maggie's car? I don't know if she put it under the seat. It's just as likely it fell under the seat. But I mean, I've been married over 20 years. My wedding rings don't just pop off, and they rarely come off. I rarely take them off. Very rarely. Taking off a wedding ring, especially when you've been married as long as Alec and Maggie have been married, is a statement. It's not an accident. And so her wedding ring being under the seat, I think it probably shifted around. I don't know where she had put it originally. The fact that SLED said they went through her car and didn't find her wedding ring causes me a whole bunch more concern. But the wedding ring in the car is a big piece of evidence for the prosecution because everything was fine. More shenanigans from the family in court today per Twitter. I'll go back to Twitter in a minute. I'm not done losing my mind over the lawyer shenanigans. Like, the lawyering right now is just, look, the game is on the field. They have come to play. And that is the most interesting thing to see, is how the lawyers are navigating the lawyering in all of this. And I feel like I've been screaming at the prosecution for 15 days. And today I'm like, oh, look at you. Look at you. You've got your direct questions. You're letting your witness talk. Today, we have a much cleaner case. And I haven't forgotten all of it, but we are moving forward. Found an envelope from the divorce attorney in Maggie's purse. They didn't finish up with anything else in the purse, which was interesting. But if they ever get back around to the roadside incident, the fact that Alec was asking Blanca for photos of his insurance cards the morning of the roadside incident also shows premeditation. So if they get back to the roadside incident and show his planning, it will be interesting if they tie it out, if they tie it up. Did anyone else not catch that there were no dishes in the sink? No, we got it. There were no dishes in the sink. The reason I'm not focused on no dishes in the sink is because there were like 25 lawyers in the house. And if it's me going over to my friend's house after they have lost someone, I might walk up to the stove and put things back in the fridge. I don't think that's necessarily a big deal. I just might also do that. So Blanca noticed that things were off in the house, and I think it goes to her noticing things are off in the house. I'm definitely cleaning. Yeah, if you've been through a tragedy, I will probably rearrange your refrigerator because I don't always know how to help, and that is what I will do. I will start rearranging and picking things up, especially if you know that people are coming over. Especially if you know people are coming over. And after someone dies, everyone is coming over. And so I can see someone doing that. For the chat that said, who puts an entire damn pot in the fridge? Remember, there were 25 attorney men in this house that night. I mean, can I see that happening? Yep, totally can. I can totally see this being one of Alec's friends that were at the house just being like, here you go. The judge is coming back to the bench. The judge is coming back to the bench. The judge is coming back to the bench. All right, let me switch feeds. Oh no, I want to see the judge's face. You can now be seated. Oh, the judge has his rules. The judge is ready.
Now be seated.
Woo! Let's get back to court.
Objection is sustained. It's hearsay.
Ha!
You bring the jury.
Bring the jury. You know why it's hearsay? Because it's offered for the truth of the matter asserted, and there's no exception. There's no exception. It's fair. I put an entire pot in the fridge. I'm not a dude. Maybe I should say there's lawyers putting the entire pot in the fridge, and sometimes we just don't. They're bringing back the jury. Dick is going to have fucking kittens this afternoon. It's going to be great. CB said, we, the people who work in the house, we know the things, all the things, all the things, all the things. I've been a nanny. All the things. She told B, we'll start over, which is fair. She felt like she was being lied to, but we'll start over is fair. Though I want to go back and see if she said, I'll start over or we'll start over. Motion to strike previous Groundhog Day super chat. Motion granted. It's withdrawn. I mean, if I'm painting, I usually take off my wedding ring, but the juice is juicy.
All right, thank you. The objection is sustained. Your next question.
Court, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
So
Everyone's
this
on red alert.
conversation occurred, I think, did you say prior to them going on a golf tournament? Going to a golf tournament?
Yes, sir. He said Randy had just dropped him off so that he could get his clothes, because him and Buster and Randy were going golfing.
Oh, they were
Him and
going,
Buster and who?
Randy.
Randy.
They were going to that legal conference.
Going to a golf tournament that weekend?
I don't know if it was a golf tournament or what, but I know he said they were going away, they were going golfing.
I think that's that legal conference that everybody's talked about.
And
It makes
speaking
sense, the
of
timing.
Buster, can you point Buster out in the audience for me, please?
Ew. He's way in the back.
Oh, you're back there. Okay, I'm sorry. Stand up, please.
This is Dick's tactic to remind the jury the family's still here, which is
Is that Buster?
interesting.
Yes, sir.
Y'all always had a great relationship, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
He's a
thank you.
good kid.
I'm sorry?
He's a good kid.
He's a good kid. Okay, so,
The emotional manipulation is real this afternoon, but that's
one of
the
the other
defense's
questions I
job.
have is, do you ever see Paul with any guns?
Yes, sir.
No?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. And did he have guns around all the time?
Yes, he did.
Matter of fact, there are all guns all over that place, right?
In the vehicles, on the go-karts, sometimes in the hangar.
So, did Paul ever leave guns? Just where, if he was, for instance, down at the hangar, would he ever leave guns down there?
I have found one occasionally out there.
A pistol or rifle?
A rifle.
You know what kind it was?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you know if he ever left any down in the feed room?
Not in the feed room. I'm not sure about the feed
Okay,
room.
you never saw anything in the
No,
feed
sir.
room. I believe in one of your statements I read that sometimes he'd leave him somewhere and actually there'd be rust on the rifle or the shotgun or whatever.
If you left it on the golf cart outside, he would sometimes leave it laying across, and I would get it in the morning, and already it would rust off.
And that would be a golf cart he would drive down to the kennels, for instance?
Yes, sir, whichever one he was in, and he preferred the gas. The gas one is usually where I used to find.
Gas
Versus electric.
golf cart?
Yes.
Okay. And so that would be a way he would get down to the kennel sometimes?
Sometimes, the majority of the time, he was either in Dolly or in his own truck.
In
The
what?
trucks,
Dolly,
What is Dolly?
the F-250.
I forgot, y'all name all your trucks, or they named all their trucks, right?
Yes, sir.
yeah, we know
Okay,
Dolly
so,
and White Boy are the names of the trucks that we've heard so far.
Most of the time, he would be in a truck, but sometimes he would take the golf
Dick,
cart, if you
I
will,
forgot
down.
y'all name your trucks.
Yes, sir.
You did not
And
forget,
apparently,
Dick.
sometimes he had guns in the golf cart.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me touch a couple of other things.
It also shows how well she knew this family, that she knew that he was driving Dolly.
Did, that day you saw the sled folks in there,
Oh, I named my
did
cars too, just
you
most
see them
people don't
taking
know
any
it.
pictures? Or do you remember?
I believe some of them were
I'm
taking
here for y'all
pictures, but
sharing the name of your trucks.
I'm not positive.
Okay.
I named my Jeep Renegade Sticks.
You were shown a
I
picture of
appreciate
a
that
rain
so much.
jacket?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay, and had you ever seen that rain jacket at the house?
Not at Moselle, no, sir.
Correct. You ever, and what
Did you
size
see any
clothes did Alec wear?
2XL.
2XL, not just a large. Would anything, a large fit him?
I don't think he might have had one or two items that were that size, but
Just a reminder,
most
if
of
you
the clothing was 2XL.
2XL.
don't want the world to know your business,
How about, would you put,
being on trial, they're going to know all your business.
yes, please.
all your business.
And blow it up for me, please.
I love seeing the name of all your cars in the chat. Thank you guys. It is the best. It is just the
How
best.
about make that bigger for me, please? No, not the rain jacket. I'm sorry. The Snapchat picture. I apologize. Well, wait one second. You see that rain jacket on there?
Yes, sir.
You've never seen that, according to your statement, never seen that at
I've
Turruviat?
never seen that jacket.
Okay. And you knew pretty much everything, every piece of clothing that was there, right?
For the most part, yes.
Yes. Okay. And how many rain jackets did Alex have? You remember?
Too many to count.
You need to count. Okay. But none of them look like that.
No, sir.
Okay. How about blow that up for me, please?
I don't think
Can you
they
make it
are
any
getting to the fact that Alec was
better?
wearing the rain jacket. I don't
Closer.
think anyone believes Alec was wearing the rain
Yeah, that's
jacket,
good right there.
poncho, tarp thing.
And that shirt is...
They think the guns were wrapped
Is that
in
the
it.
one he was wearing that morning when he
No,
left?
sir, it was not.
It's not.
No, sir, that was not the shirt he was wearing.
And this is at 7, you understand, this is 7:40 PM that evening when he's out with Paul.
I wasn't there then.
Okay. But that's not the shirt he was wearing when he left that morning.
That is correct. That was not the shirt.
Okay, beg your question, Doge, one moment.
So here's what it seems. She fixed the collar on his shirt when he left for work. She knows what he's wearing when he goes to work. It's not unusual to me, especially after working as an attorney, to come home and change out of the lawyer clothes into your clothes for around the house. That doesn't surprise me at all. It's also the summer and it's the South.
Where he had clothes
It's
at his
hot.
office, kept clothes at his office.
Yes, sir.
I would
Among other
change
places.
too.
Where else would he have
Car.
clothes?
So that's not weird.
You have it in a car?
Yes, sir.
So the clothes
Where
he's
else?
in the Snapchat video are not the clothes he wore to work.
In Edisto.
Sorry?
In Edisto.
In Edisto, okay. But if he was in the Moselle area, if he was going to change his shirt from in the morning, would he have changed it at the office or got something out of his car?
I
How would she know that?
You don't know.
don't know.
Okay.
I don't-
Hey, Dick, how about you let her answer?
Okay. Now, let me show you,
So I change clothes when I get home. That's not odd to me. It's more odd that the clothes are missing. That's what's more odd. It's more odd that those specific clothes are missing. So, wasn't he wearing the same pants? No. In the police footage video, he was wearing different pants, and I don't think she said he was wearing the same pants, or at least they didn't tie together. They said he was wearing khakis earlier and that he's wearing khakis later, but they didn't say, are these the same pants, because he has multiple pairs of pants. So, same type of pants, yes. Blanca's confused because
the jury
Dick
what that
starts
is,
a
please?
question, says, let me ask you this, and then switches questions in the middle. He's hard to follow. I think that's intentional. So,
The text messages from me and Maggie?
June 7th, 2021, right?
That is correct.
And the first one, I'm just going to try to hurry this up a little bit. She asked you to stop.
Yes, sir.
She says, will you stop by, this is at 7:05 a.m., stop by the store and get Alex Capri Sun. He likes orange and pineapple flavor plus mountain cooler. Thank you, I'll pay you back. You say, I will. She says, thank you, get 2 boxes. Now,
Capri Sun makes a pineapple?
after that
And an orange?
conversation,
They don't just make
there's a
fruit
text
fresh.
at 3:28 p.m.
There's more
Blanca,
flavors of Capri
dinner's
Sun.
on
Where
the
have I
stove, just
been?
left. She left there at about 3:30, correct?
Yes, I sent the text before I actually walked out of the house. I had a habit of sending her the text, make sure everything, and then locked up before I left.
Okay.
But at that time, I had gone upstairs to drop off some clothes. And I noticed that Paul's truck, or a white truck, was sitting at the kennels. So I left the front door unlocked at that time, instead of locking
But
it.
you didn't see Alec anywhere there?
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't see his vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay. And she says at 3:40, thank you.
Next time I go to the
right?
store, I'm looking for Capri Sun.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious.
Okay, then at 3:54, you said, you're welcome, I just made your deposit. Maggie then says, I guess this is one exchange, thank you, I'm waiting at the doctor. Alex wants me to come home. I had to leave the door open at Edisto, but trust the Mexicans to shut and lock for me.
Yes, sir.
And then she says, Alex's dad back at the hospital. The last doctor claims not cancer, pneumonia. Alex is about to die. Hope he doesn't go down there to sleep. Now, you know what she meant by that?
Calls for speculation.
What she meant was Maggie used to get frustrated. She said every time something happened at Almeida with his dad or his mom, that Alec would get called and nobody else, that they always called Alec to go to the house. And she did get upset over that the family was basically putting all that on Alec and he wasn't getting enough rest.
So when she said he's going to die, she's worried about his health.
She was worried about his health, yes.
Okay.
So they relied on Alec,
And
not
she
his other
says
brothers.
Alex needs to take care of himself as well. And that's consistent with what you just said, correct? She was
Yes.
worried about his health.
Yes.
And
Ask
you
a
said, yes, he
question.
does. He told me he was tired when he left. I hope they can treat Mr. Randolph. Maggie says, I'm scared for him and Alex and all of us. What do you mean by that?
Because Alec hadn't
know.
had much sleep. That was her main concern, was the fact that, her main frustration was the fact that in the middle of the night or whenever, if Mr. Randolph or Miss Libby were uncomfortable, that they would always, she seemed to think that they always called Alec and there goes Alec, to take care of it. And she felt that it wasn't fair that he was the only one having to take them.
And your response to that is, I know, just pray about it and hope he gets a little better. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir?
And you say, Alex and you really need to relax. Always being on the go with little or no sleep is not healthy. Remember, I have a doctor's appointment in the morning in Beaufort. If I get done early, I'll go to Moselle. I'll let you know. And she says, no worries, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, oh, you got these.
Yes, this is leading toward, so he was extremely stressed. Yes. Yes, it is. And I think with a lot of things in this trial,
So-
things cut both ways. I think that cuts both ways on him being extremely stressed. But
She preferred
it also shows that everything wasn't
be
as hunky-dory as everybody
in,
says it is, because she was
Edisto,
stressed
correct?
about his
That's
family.
correct.
But she was going that day, based on all your texts, she was going because Mr. Randolph had been put back in the hospital and she was worried about Alex, right?
She was going because he asked her to.
What
I
do you
mean, she was heading to Moselle.
'Cause he asked
She
her to.
preferred to be in Edisto, but she was heading to Moselle because Mr. Randolph had been put back in the hospital.
That's not what she said.
And she was concerned about Alex. Isn't that what this says?
Objection.
Misstates testimony.
The objection is sustained.
Misstates testimony.
Okay.
Look at everybody acting like lawyers today, y'all.
She indicated to you that Paul was
go?
coming in your telephone conversations, correct?
That is correct.
And did she indicate in your telephone conversations that she needed dinner for her, Paul, and Alec, right?
Yes, she did.
And did she indicate in any way that she did not want to go to Moselle to have dinner with Alec, Paul, that night?
Her conversation with me was that Alec wanted her to go to Moselle that day, and she was concerned about the workers that she had in Edisto, and she would have preferred to be in Edisto, taking care of the final.
But for
Details.
Mr. Randolph's condition.
But for Alec asking her.
She was concerned about the work being done and leaving the house open in Edisto.
She wasn't concerned about Mr. Randolph.
I mean, she was, but her more concern was that her house was open.
She's not going to waive her dick.
Now, I mean, she preferred to be at Edisto in the summertime.
She left Edisto
as
open because
opposed
she
to
thought she
Moselle
was
at
going
all,
back there
correct?
when she
That is
left.
correct.
She was going to the doctor and thought she was going
now-
back to Edisto. That's why she left it open. And then Alex said, no, you need to come to Moselle. She anticipated going back to Edisto when she left to go to the doctor, but
Let me
she
ask
didn't.
you,
He told her to go to Moselle, she did, and that's where she died. The prosecution's
Did
going to have to
Swed
tie that together.
ask you about at any point, about the clothes that Alex was wearing on the 7th? At some point, did they ask you that?
Not until recent.
Recently, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it clear to you I mean, you've been asked recently to recollect something that happened in June of 21, which is almost 2 years ago.
These open-ended questions are going to bite Dick in the ass because this witness isn't playing.
Did they ask you other questions about what happened on June 7th when they asked you about the clothes?
They who?
They asked me where I was. They asked me what I was doing. They asked me
Investigation.
when I saw Alec leaving that day, my discussions with Maggie. They requested to see my phone, which I gave them, so they could see the text messages, phone calls that we had had.
Okay.
So they didn't think Alec was a suspect enough
you
to
and
talk
Maggie
to
were very
Blanca
close.
until recently.
We were.
You and Alex were close also, were you not?
Yes, sir.
And did you feel like a member of the family?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever heard from anybody about any, well, strike that. Did you indicate that
Actually,
Maggie,
technically it's
one
withdrawn,
of the
not
things
struck.
Maggie
The judge
told you
strikes it, but
was
whatever.
that she was not, after the boat case, she was not being treated very well by the people in Hampton, correct?
That is correct.
They shunned her, they were rude to her, those kinds of things.
That is correct.
Did she also indicate to you that she was concerned about Paul because he'd received a bunch of threats?
Objection.
I think that's actually an improper
Objection's
objection.
overruled.
Yeah.
Did she ever indicate to you she's concerned about Paul because Paul had received threats?
Yes.
Okay, beg the court's indulgence.
That was, yeah, it's fair to overrule that objection because they've already gotten into Maggie's state of mind. And again, that evidence has already been elicited. I think it's actually more helpful to the prosecution. They might not see it at the moment.
Apologize. I moved 107 into evidence. I gave it to the clerk.
The captions have stopped working
Any
today.
objection? It's admitted without objection.
And I don't know why. But the captions have stopped working today. And I can't figure out why the captions have stopped working today. But I'm trying. Worried that I've messed everything up in my trying. Because my second monitor is now pissed at me. So,
That same morning of the 8th, did you clean the gun room?
he didn't cross her about the ring.
I didn't go in the gun room. I went
Because
in
he
there,
doesn't
but
want
I
to focus on
didn't do
it.
anything in the gun room.
Didn't pick anything up.
No, sir.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying to
Okay,
fix
and when
it.
you went into the
Second
kitchen
monitor.
that morning, was there anything that would indicate to you that other people had been there the night before? Like glasses or bottles of water or anything?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Redirect.
We're going on to redirect. Give me 1 second. We're going to get to redirect real quick. And I'm trying to figure out where my second monitor has gone because today it's just not happening. It's just not having any of it. So they're getting on to redirect. Give me 1 second. And we will do.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri. Oh, mobile display. Mobile display. Curse you, mobile display. All right. We're getting this pulled back up. Thank you all. I beg the chat's indulgence for 1 second.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
All right. Here we go. So much easier when I'm at home. And add.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
Siri.
Did you ever go there?
No, sir.
Did you ever go there?
No, I have been there on one occasion. I have been there on one occasion. Previously, and I don't remember what I had. I don't remember what I had to drop off.
Well, that blue poncho rain jacket Mr. Harpootlian showed you, that was at Almeida, wasn't it? Or do you know? Never
I
saw
don't know where
that
that
at
came
Moselle,
from.
correct? You never saw
is
that
correct.
at Moselle, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And
I don't know why.
State 7, well, first of all, this is States 2.
I know, I'm fixing the double sound.
States 306
Thank y'all.
Have you ever seen that shirt again since you went back the 8th, the 9th, until today? Have you ever seen that shirt again?
Once I moved a lot of the belongings to the little house, he had packed some of the clothes up, but over the weekends and stuff, when they were going from place to place, I noticed that he was purchasing different clothing items, shorts, shirts. So there was a couple of new ones in there, which still was not that shirt. It was some of the newer ones.
Who was purchasing a lot of shorts and shirts?
Alec.
After this event? After the murder?
Yes, sir, on the weekends when they were gone with the family, if he was going different places, he would come back like that
Sounds a
Monday
little
or
out of
Tuesday,
sync.
and it was like
I
new
don't want to
items
fix it yet
within the clothes.
because I don't want to lose it and I want to
New
hear her
shirt?
testimony.
New shirts,
New shorts?
yes.
I'll fix it as soon as I can.
You know what kind?
Vineyard Vines,
They were buying mini vines?
yes, sir.
Vineyard Vines.
After the murders?
Yes, sir, they were like polo-type Vineyard Vines.
He purchased new shirts.
What shirt had he suggested to you he was wearing in August on this day? What shirt had he just suggested to you he was wearing?
Vineyard Vines, Vinny Vines is what they call them.
Oh, Dick's wandering around again.
State 7 said you recognize these shorts and shirts?
Yes, sir.
Where was this shirt kept? On States 107 in Mosaic?
In the closet, if there was no room in that drawer.
On the shelves?
Yes, sir, on the shelf.
And looking at 306, is that outfit different from this outfit?
Yes, sir, it is.
And that is the point, that they are different.
And I think Mr. Arputian showed it at 107. Whose idea was it for Maggie Murdaugh to come to Moselle on the evening of June 7th?
Objection, Your Honor.
You can testify if you know.
Your Honor, hearsay.
It's not hearsay.
Testify if you know.
Maggie texted me that Alec wanted her to come to Moselle.
And is that on 107 that Mr. Harpootlian just put in?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yep,
That's all, thank you.
Yes, sir.
we are on recross. I will sync these up after he's done. Because I don't want to lose her testimony. Like Dick loses the point in the middle of his question. Here, let me see if I can fix this while they are doing that. I don't know where we're getting second testimony from. I found it.
A couple questions.
I found it. We're back.
After Maggie's death, or Paul's death, did you notice he was losing weight?
Yes, sir, he was.
The
One
math
second.
loss of weight, right?
They're
Yes.
asking about whether
So the clothes he,
Alec was losing
you can
weight
see him in that picture.
after the murders.
Fat is the wrong word, but overweight kind of guy, big guy, fleshy looking guy.
Fleshy?
Right there, okay?
They just
Now,
called him fleshy?
So he needed to buy new clothes because the other clothes were falling off of him, right?
That's why.
I assume so, yes, sir.
So it wouldn't be unusual for him to need to buy new clothes because he's losing weight.
Alternative theory.
I guess.
Okay.
Alternative
Now,
theory.
this is 306.
I
This is
also
the
prefer
picture.
sturdy to
And you
fleshy.
say this is a shirt, like a Columbia shirt, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, a Columbia shirt, don't they have a logo that says Columbia?
Yes, sir. You know, the sleeve or,
You see one on here?
I don't see anything on the shirt. The style of shirt is a Columbia style shirt.
Style.
It's not a, you're not saying it was a brand name Columbia shirt. You're saying it was a Columbia style shirt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your testimony again is this is not the shirt he walked out with that morning,
He did not walk out with that shirt that morning.
but those could be the khakis he walked out with that morning.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. And when you say you never saw that shirt again, you did see those khakis again, did you not?
Yes, sir, I watched those khakis. They were in bathroom. I'm assuming it was the same pair because he only had a few that he wore.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, and in addition,
Also, no shade to Alec for being fluffy. Apparently, Blanca cooked amazingly. So, you know,
your testimony would be
I like the alternate theory, though. He's
That
buying new clothes not to
the
hide,
only, well, I
but
guess you're
because he's
saying
lost
that
weight.
morning he didn't have that shirt on,
fair
but he
explanation.
had those pants on.
Could possibly have those pants. He had several.
Okay. And would you scroll down to the
Mike
footwear,
could be.
please?
She is well done with Dick. I agree.
Okay, those are loafers, right?
Yes, sir.
And what do they seem to be made out of?
Leather.
Like soft leather.
So your testimony is that those were shoes he only wore around the house. He had like house slippers.
Usually when Alec would go outside, he had them Georgia boots that he would wear or the duck boots, and those would be left by the front door when I would walk through the door in the next morning.
Georgia boots or duck boots.
In
Maybe he was stressed
June,
and didn't
it's
think to
pretty
change
hot
his
down there.
clothes.
In Moselle.
Yes, sir, but those were his go-to shoes
Okay.
when he would go outside or mess around, like he said, with Paul that day.
Because it's a
What
farm.
kind of shoes was he wearing when he went to work that day?
The dress shoes, a pair of brown leather.
Okay. Now, when were you first asked about what he was wearing that day?
Let's see where the
A
rush to
couple-
judgment is.
Maybe a couple of days when they interviewed me.
When they interviewed you the first time?
Yes, sir.
They asked you what he had on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Interviewed after the murder about what he was wearing. Okay.
You may step down.
Wow. This morning has been spicy. Those of you that are like, I hate how Dick says okay, it clips her answers. It's a strategy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll break for lunch and resume at 2:15.
It is
Please do not
lunchtime.
discuss the case.
So I will be back here at like right around 5 minutes before court resumes. I am going to give a quick summary if I can, because my brain is just, and answer some questions. Blanca was a fascinating witness. We had a poll going. Let's go ahead and stop that poll. I forgot what our poll was, but we're going to do another poll. So if you haven't voted in that poll, I'm sorry, we're going to do another one. We are going to take a look at the results on that poll, and then we are going to put up, does Blanca's testimony change your opinion of this case? I'm not going to ask if you think he did it or not, but has where you were coming in this morning shifted because of Blanca's testimony? And that's what I would love to see. The poll from earlier, does this feel like the most important testimony we have had so far in this trial? 95% yes, 4% no, with 13,000 of you voting. So go ahead and do the YouTube-y things. Y'all know there's 44,000 of you in here. I would sure love it if you subscribe. That would be awesome. I appreciate it. And YouTube seems to be valuing the likey, subscribey things quite heavily. So, you know, if you're here for court casting, go for it. Let's see. We're going to get to some questions. Anybody else think Dick sounds like Matthew McConaughey? Jessica Martin, this question comes in, or this statement comes in all day, every day when Dick talks. So yes, you are not alone. Lots of people think that Dick sounds like Matthew McConaughey. Blanca has confirmed my opinion. So Bronwyn, I would subscribe again. Don't subscribe twice. It's not going to work well for me. So let's continue on to questions. Yep, Miguelina, that looks good. So thank you. Let's go to questions. Allison said, taking off a wedding ring while renovating isn't a big deal. It can easily get dirty, damaged if you're using a saw, dangerous. I'm just gonna hasten a guess that Maggie was not out there using any table saws. It just seems inconsistent with what we've learned about Maggie Murdaugh thus far. That is just my guess, and I don't think we have any evidence that Maggie's actually helping renovate versus overseeing the renovations, picking things out, and running the credit cards. But if they're in the middle of renovating, the financial stress might have become more apparent. Renovations are not cheap. How far from Moselle House to Beach House? No one has put that in evidence yet. So the jury does not know that. I actually don't know that. I haven't looked. But Edisto is not so far away that she couldn't get back to her doctor's appointment. So she left Edisto, went to her doctor's appointment, and then got a please, Alec wants me to go to Moselle. I thought Alec wanted her to go to Moselle about his father, but that really hasn't established much either. But Alec asked her to come to Moselle, and Alec asked Paul to come to Moselle. The prosecution has to make that a very central figure of their closing, because if you're going to argue that this was a vigilante and Maggie was staying at Edisto during a remodel and had left people there working on the home during the remodel and had left the door unlocked because she thought she was coming back, and Paul had come home on Friday and gotten laundry done and seen Blanca and then had done work and then wasn't even planning on being at Moselle on Monday, how does someone know that they're there? Unless someone is Alec Murdaugh or someone's told by Alec Murdaugh. So that. We definitely got to grounds today. These attorneys are not practiced at stating their objection in the legal grounds. They're used to saying, objection, Your Honor, he's eliciting testimony from this witness. They're used to using speaking objections instead of objection, speculation, objection, hearsay, what have you. Finally, I was worried the prosecution wouldn't pull it all together. Same. I mean, I wasn't worried. I was confused and tired. I was very tired of this case. And it felt like the prosecution, it still kind of feels like the prosecution, was so focused on the financial crimes that it was hard to tie it all back together. But I see why they did the financial stuff before bringing in Blanca, because they wanted to get into the statements that Maggie was worried about the $30 million. Blanca washes all the clothes, so would know if Alec changes clothes when he comes home. They didn't ask her that specifically. However, I think this jury is going to think the same thing I do, that when you come home from work in June and it's not unreasonable that you're going to change clothes. I think this is just lived experience for the jury. If this was about his father, why not tell Buster to come also? Diane, ding, 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 ding. If this is the family gathering because they're worried that Handsome, the father, is imminently going to pass, why not call all the family? It's a very, very good question. And I wonder if Buster wonders that too. Can we have an option C, strengthened my opinion? Oh, that would be fair. I just wanted to know if it changed anyone's opinion, but I could have asked it better. I'll ask it better after lunch, I promise. If they go back to the financial crimes, we riot. Yes, we do. We absolutely do. Did Alec not ask Buster to come to Moselle too? It doesn't seem like he did. That's highly suspicious if he didn't ask Buster to show up. It seems that he didn't. We have no evidence of that. Who knows? There's more to come. Wedding ring only important if she wasn't wearing it at time of death, coupled with testimony from a divorce attorney, which will be interesting to see. If her ring was on her at the time of death, the coroner would have had it and it would have gone with her. If someone took it off of her, they wouldn't really know that. If somebody had taken it off of her and put it in her car, if it had been on her when she passed, it should be with the coroner unless somebody removed it right after she passed before police showed up, which seems odd, especially since the loving family is the direction that the defense is going in. When court started today, I thought, oh, we decided we're trying a murder case today. Yes, they showed up to a murder case today. 1.25 hours house to house. Okay, so not super far. If they find the missing gun, can they still use it as evidence? I mean, things can come up in the middle of trial, but we would need to know. A lot would have to happen. Should they ask Blanca if Maggie usually wore her wedding ring? Give me 1 second. Oh my God, I was muted. I'm so sorry. I had to ask a question and then I started muting. Apologies. Sorry, chat. What was the date he was fired from his, that's my bad. What was the date he was fired from the firm? September 4th, well, 3rd. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. Elaine, your mic. Elaine, your mic. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Elaine, your mic. Apologies, y'all. I muted because I needed to ask a question about something that was going on here. So apologies. And then I thought I had unmuted and I didn't do it well. There are so many heroes in this trial. One of them is a boss named Blanca. Theme is women being underestimated. It's my favorite. I prefer Stitch's fluffy. I think lots do. Blanca says his parents would call him at all hours of the night, which contradicts what Shelley said. I don't think it contradicts Shelley. Blanca said that Maggie was annoyed that his parents would call him at all hours. It doesn't necessarily mean he went over there at all hours, but they would call him if they needed something. So that's what I took away from that. OG Sean White said, I missed the open of Cross, but the fact that she washed the pants and all her previous testimony is the most damning thing I've heard from any witness. What the hell is the cross on Tinsley, like WTF? The cross on Tinsley was like, bye. The cross on her was, again, it seems to me that she was trying to help her family or trying to help that family. So let us continue on. So I know some of you are behind. Some of you are behind in the chat. We have fixed the muting. So go ahead and refresh. But I think people are watching slightly behind and not caught up to real time. So we're going to see some of those comments for a minute, and then I might have to take a break for lunch. Where was Alec Murdaugh going in the middle of the night? Miss Shelley said he never came that late. Oh, Renee. Maybe the evidence isn't contradictory, and the reason Maggie said his parents were calling him at all hours of the night is because he wasn't exactly telling Maggie where he was going. That's a possibility. I don't know if the jury will speculate on that. I don't think the attorneys will speculate on that. But Miss Shelley said he never came over to the parents at the end of the night. Maggie said they just call him at all hours. Maybe it's not his parents calling at all hours. Renee, that is a very, very, very interesting question. That's a very, because I absolutely trust when Miss Shelley said he wasn't coming here in the middle of the night, I absolutely believe Miss Shelley knew. She was there every single night. Renee, I mean, you've got the thoughts for the chat. Whether the attorneys will turn that in, because it is speculation, but it is a very good point, and it makes the testimony, I mean, the testimony makes sense. The testimony makes sense. Stephanie's like, worth the super chat. They have his phone, they can check. I don't think they have all of his phones. Remember, Chris Wilson said that sometimes Alec would call and text from another number. So we don't have all of the phones. Twitter is saying that the lawyers are live tweeting. The lawyers in the chat aren't live tweeting. I don't know what lawyers are live tweeting, but it can't be the lawyers on the phone. It can't be the lawyers on the case. So whether he had something going on the side, we don't know. But Miss Shelley said he wasn't coming to the parents' house at night, and Maggie said, "Oh, you know, she was annoyed because the parents would call at all hours." That's so interesting. You know, it's not like you don't blame things on other people. It's like, oh yeah, it's my parents. Because what's your spouse going to say if you're like, oh, my aging and ill parents need me? What are you going to say other than to tell somebody that you trust, his parents always call him, they never call his brothers? I wonder if his brothers were in court listening to that. Seen too many rom-coms, thought M asked B to elope. Oh, no. Where was AM in the middle of the night? Miss Shelley said he never came that late. He sure didn't. Emily, you were everything today, and I am on the front pew. I was dying today. Today was everything. My sister named a Ford Explorer Bianca. Why? No idea. Bianca's a great name. I named my PC the Crimson Rose. Don't have a car. Lighthearted Gaming. That's very fair to name your PCs. So he didn't take the clothes with him, huh, Poot? And then Pooh was like, he could have taken them to his parents. Yeah, the defense is definitely throwing the spaghetti against the wall today. My best friend was going through her brother being in the hospital with COVID, and I cleaned so much when I was there with her. He did end up passing. Oh, Michelle, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad I was able to be there with her during that time. I think it's one of the things we do when we don't know what to say or do with our hands. We just are like, how can I help? Let me clean your house. It's one of the ways, or bring food. Let me bring food. Let me clean. Lawyers, police, banks, and let me hug, and we'll sit and cry or listen to like metal. One of the twos. Lawyers, police, banks, and government cannot be trusted in this town. Well, we've definitely seen an interesting investigation. Can't believe it took 2 weeks for us to get here. 3. We're the last day of week 3. And all of us are like, oh, I understand this case better today. Today was exciting. The lawyers lawyered today. Look, when I look at covering a case, I want to see good lawyering. And today the lawyers showed up to lawyer. So I was excited that the lawyers showed up to lawyer today. Very, very excited that the lawyers showed up to lawyer today. Let's see. Doesn't sound like A told M or P about the news that Grandpa was terminal, which he learned at work earlier. Maggie was in the group text with the family, so they talked about it. So we've got that. And they talked about that, but I don't know. I'm going to answer a couple more questions. And we are going to get ready for the afternoon stream. What time did I say I would be back? Just about an hour from now, I will be back for the afternoon stream, just a little bit before an hour from now. So if you want to go to the afternoon stream, we will make sure that the chat is on so y'all can go over there and continue chatting about today. And then I'm going to take a break for lunch just like y'all because I've got some things to get ready. Didn't Paul's friend say that Alec and Maggie would stop by the kennels to check on them on the way out? He had a habit, so why not that night? Luna Wolf, that's what Paul's friend said, that they used that more. So that they used that exit more. And it seems that from Blanca's testimony that she used the exit by the kennels more. And again, the chat pointed out, if the kennels didn't have great cell service and you had called multiple times, why wouldn't you go just drive by? Why wouldn't you just drive out that way? We finally got a good trial, and Dick is pissed he can't shake Blanca. Yes, he is. Kristen said, because you traveled, if you were at home, it would be boring. Probably. I mean, that's probably. Misty, not my stripper name, said Judge yeeted himself the fuck out. I love him. I do too. He was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm leaving. Evie said, Evie Lexi super chat says, I said the hospital today that once the doctors are done measuring themselves to sign the discharge for my dad because I'm over their crap. It's fair. It's fair. We got a lot of that today, but the lawyers lawyered. EDB, you're making today 1 billion times better compared to the normal million. Well, thank you. Today was a day. A Watted, thank you for the super chat. Shout out to your husband on their birthday. I'm newly diagnosed ADHD, studying for the LSAT. I admire you so much. Thank you, and good luck with the LSAT. The LSAT is, it's a logic test, so just study the test. It doesn't teach you anything else. Beverly had earlier shared, I'm a house manager. You see and hear it all. You know almost everything about the family, their clothes, and their other employees. I've been confided to about things. They also call me a friend. I feel for her. I feel for Blanca too, because I do think Maggie trusted Blanca, and I do think Maggie saw Blanca as a friend and somebody she could rely on. Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So with that, all of y'all, we're going to take a break for lunch. I will see you back here. This afternoon's going to be fire. If they call Cousin Eddie to the stand, I might pass out. I need to eat so I don't. I need to eat so I don't pass out. If Cousin Eddie is the next witness, I am going to fall the fuck over. So I will see you right after lunch. Are they going to call it Cousin Eddie to the stand today? That is the big question. That is the big question. And the answer we got this morning that I think all of us have been waiting for is that we know good boy Bubba is living with Blanca. And I think that put us all a little bit at ease. Law nerds, I have a tankard of coffee and a whole lot of sass. It's Friday and it's coming in hot. I'll see you after lunch.
You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at lawnerdshop.com. Connect with me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. And don't forget to check out my podcasts The Emily Show, and the new podcast, Quick Bits, summarizing everything I talk about on my Tuesday and Thursday live streams. You know, when you only have time for just the quick bits.